Let's go!
Welcome back to Hall of Fame College Football. I'm your host, Jason Watkins. To my right, to your left, is the coach, Philip Roybal, and we have a number of guests. I'm just going to let them introduce themselves on this fine Tuesday night. But if you love college football, you know you're in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss one moment of Hall of Fame college football. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. Jay, our boy from Unfair Sports, tell everybody how to find you. Then we'll go straight down to SEC mode and the other way. Go ahead.
Sweet. Appreciate you, Jason. Jay Smith, Unfair Sports. Y'all know you can find me here on YouTube as well as find me on the X-Bird at Unfair Sports and wherever podcasts are downloaded and listened to. Thanks for having me. It's going to be a fun Tuesday night.
Oh, yeah.
What's up, Hall of Fame family? This is SEC Mo of the SEC Weekly. You can find your boy at SEC Weekly Mo on X, and you can also find my partner, Tonka Todd, and the SEC Weekly at the SEC Weekly. So follow us on all platforms that you can find and get your SEC fix.
Okay, so I guess we got a new SEC guy. We letting Ty, sulk over his Bama squad. Like,
he's so busy on Tuesday nights, man. You can't get him on anyways. But SEC Mo's cool, and we've been waiting.
He be on the Bama Standard. Yeah, he be on the Bama Standard usually on their channel.
I'm worried about Ty, y'all. I'm worried about it. But anyways, hey, Chris with a K on Twitter. Chris with a _K in front of the K to start, K to end. Horns Down Podcast, YouTube. You guys know where to find me.
And Coos.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Jason. I am Coos from Coos' Corner. Spelled C-O-U-Z, by the way. It's not spelled like it sounds. You can also find me on Twitter, X, whatever you call it, at Coos206. I also have a basketball channel called Hoops from the Hills, where I cover West Virginia Mountaineer basketball with a partner. And, of course, on Coos' Corner, I cover West Virginia, I cover the Big 12, and I cover a lot about conference realignment. So it's good to be back with Jason and the coach again.
Hey, man, we're glad to have you on. Obviously,
good to
Coach,
have you, man.
Welcome into the show again. Coach, how's your day been? Thank you for coming back on with us as usual.
Absolutely. Good day. It's been a good day. Life is always good, especially when we get to talk college football.
Absolutely. Gentlemen, it has been exactly 7 days and about 22 hours since the CFP National Championship game between Michigan and Washington. It feels like 6 months have passed. Lots of seismic shifts going on in college football. Not only did the GOAT of coaches, Nick Saban, abruptly retire a day following Michigan's hoisting of that CFP trophy, but Alabama's already replaced him. Washington has replaced Kalen DeBoer, who took over at Alabama, and we're getting replacements from Arizona to Washington. All kinds of stuff going on, fellas. There's so much to talk about here. Then we can definitely sort out ourselves, Coach. So welcome everybody into the show. Of course, Jay, K, Chris, SEC Mo, we're glad to have you in here as always. Coos, glad to have you back as well. We may have a couple of other guys pop in as we go along, but first thing I kind of wanted to talk about and just kind of bring into it is, haven't had a lot of time to really take a breath, but what role do you guys think that NIL, the transfer portal, conference realignment, an expanded playoff that most believe is going to completely render college football unrecognizable compared to what we've known in the past? How much did all of these things play into Nick Saban calling it quits? Coach, starts off.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt I mean, you know, for a long time, Nick and Alabama were probably as strong as anybody being. I mean, they had their own NIL going on for years and years, and so now the playing field is even, and I don't think that Coach Saban wanted to battle that. Uh, at the end of the day, you know, like you said, the landscape is changing. It's changing at a rapid rate.
Yeah.
You know, we've gone from 0 to 120 in 1.2 seconds in college football as far as changes, and it's not slowing down any. And just like you mentioned, Jason, you know, it's going to be unrecognizable when we start talking about conferences and those types of things, and the new playoff format. I mean, you even got to start looking to the playoff format and start looking at your schedules a little bit on how you're gonna try to schedule games. I mean, it's a big mess. And then, like you said, you have the GOAT that retires, and good grief, that's just more added here. But yeah, it definitely affected his decision to get out, amongst other things.
Yeah, Jay, how much do you think the NIL was responsible, plus the portal and all that stuff, for Coach Saban?
I don't think it really was much of that for him. I mean, he's 72 years old. At a certain point, you got to hang it up, right? He works 14-hour days, which has been infamously reported. And so at a certain point, he was going to retire. He's going to have to. He's old, right? Like, we got to look at it that way. Pete Carroll just kind of, quote unquote, got pushed out of Seattle.
Slow down on that old stuff, brother.
I'm just saying, but that's the thing is, right? If you think about it, Coach, if you're working 14-hour days and you're really working your butt off the way that we know Nick Saban does, it gets exhausting after a while. He even said it in one of the pressers that at a certain, he's like, those 14-hour days are different from when you're 52 when you're 72, right? You start to feel it more. And then there was rumors about Ms. Terry having some health issues and concerns. And so if that's the case, he's got a lot on his plate at a 72-year age that he's going to have to focus on. And so, you know, he's going to be active with the team. You know, he's going to be active around there. If I'm correct, he has an office still on campus, you know, going forward. So, I mean, he's basically the mayor of Tuscaloosa. He ain't going nowhere. It's just the hours that he had to put in before, he's just not going to be able to do it. And so, to me, in going into your question around reshaping of college football, this is the thing I've been thinking about for a bit. I talked about this a couple years back, and something that just I just can't get off my brain. We're trying to pick a champion, especially when it comes to like the expanded playoffs and stuff, from a sport with over 100 schools, right? Something that has never been actually able to do easily in the entire existence of college football. If you go back to like the reason why the BCS was created was because in like a 10-year span, there were 8 dual national champions because the AP picked one and then the other ratings that they used picked another, right? And so even in the existence of college football, there's never been a way to definitively pick an actual national champion. You're just waiting for the AP to pick it. In most schools, Oklahoma is one of those, Alabama as well. They only claim the AP championships. It's the only ones that they acknowledge. But they got other ones that they don't recognize. They can easily recognize, but they don't. So we're trying to figure out a way to make this into something that's, I think, is actually impossible to do. If you, like I said, go back to the BCS era. The BCS was created because there was a bunch of dual national championships, shared titles. The year before the BCS was created, that was when Michigan and Nebraska shared a title. BCS was created. Then what happened? LSU and USC shared a title. And then they realized, oh, wait, this ain't working the way we thought it was going to. The whole purpose was to eliminate that, and it didn't eliminate it, right? And so now we're here at the playoff. The playoffs is getting us closer, but it's just add more games for the most part. So at this point, I don't know if I think NIL and transfer portal, of course, added to it. But I think if NIL and transfer portal happened when Saban was 52, he wouldn't be gone. I really believe that it's because he's 72 years old.
Okay, Chris, do you agree?
Yeah, I definitely agree with what Jay said. I don't necessarily think it was all of that. I think he probably I think there's merit in what Coach said and what Jason said. I think you combine the two. I think he's older now and probably just because of age doesn't necessarily want to deal with all of that. But at the same time, I think
That's
that
what I meant.
huh?
That's what I mean. When you've doing it that way and not having to compete, and you had a 14 playoff that you essentially dominated for the better part for the entirety of it. Played in a lot of national championships. And now things are changing that much, and you could kind of see the writing on the wall. I mean,
I don't think you see the writing on the wall because Bama's still a factory. Bama is still Bama. Bama is still the standard. They're still the gold standard.
Has it not gotten harder though? Was the question I was asking. Isn't it getting harder though to win these things now that you have to go through 3 or 4 rounds of it to get there? Plus now with transfer portal and the ability to pay these guys, and you can't control their movement. It's making it harder on these older dudes.
I don't know because Jason, my point that I'm trying to get across to you is that nobody except for a few people on this panel, including myself, and I was the one that was the loudest about it, said that Bama would win the SEC this year. I said it coming on early on in the year before the season even started. I said Bama is still the best team in the SEC. Problem for Nick Saban was that quarterback play wasn't at the level that it's usually been at for him in the past, in my opinion. Okay, and even with that, I think Milroe is better than McElroy, and some of those other quarterbacks that he's won national championships with. He's more talented, but those quarterbacks play the style of ball that I think we were all accustomed to seeing playing under for Nick Saban. So I don't know. I don't think that the competition got any stiffer than what it was in the past or anything like that. I just think that ultimately there's health stuff there. There's actually health stuff, and I'll leave that to everybody else to discuss. But there's other factors I think that really played into this, but I don't think the game has passed him by. I think that he's, I'll be honest with you, especially this year, I think Jay may have said it, and I think a couple of other people that I've talked to have said it as well on other pods. This may have been the best coaching job that we've seen from him.
He didn't win a national championship, though. But he didn't win a national championship.
Yeah, but with this team here, this may have been the best coaching job that he did to get to the position to be able to compete for the final, for the final national championship. But
I get it.
Even make it to a playoff game alone, beat Georgia. I mean, the season was a success in its own, but I think it was probably one of his best coaching jobs that he's had in a while.
Mo, Kuz, when you guys jump in, do you believe that it did push him further? To me, the reason I'm asking this is, look, it's only going to get harder now that you got to go further through it. And again, it's a lot harder to stack that talent the way that you used to in Alabama.
I'll jump in on this, fellas. I think that it's a combination of things. I think that his age has a part in it. The gentleman just said a second ago, I don't think that the game has passed him by any means, because we can all agree that this is likely one of the best coaching jobs of his career, because he had a significant amount of talent, yes, but he had more obstacles this year than he had to face in previous years, especially with him having issues on the offensive line, then your quarterback not being able to read defense. So he had to adjust. I think this is the most adjustment that we've seen Coach Saban have over the past decade, just to be able to get his team to a point that they can have a team that he's proud to field. I also think that he knew that with everything changing so rapidly in the game of college football, he didn't necessarily want to reinvent the wheel that he had already created to have so much success. So I think that a part of the reason why he wanted to leave now is because he didn't want to have a rapid descent, because that's what was coming next. I think that he reached the pinnacle of his career. He chose to, while there's a transition in the game, a major transition in the game, he wisely chose to transition with that. And I think that that's going to be the most respectable and most I think that's going to be one of the most humble things that he could possibly do is to transition with that rapid change in college football. I think it was the most logical thing for his career because we all want to remember Nick Saban at the top. And that's pretty much where he's always going to be, in our opinion, because he never had a rapid descent. You know what I mean? And that's my opinion. And I think it was a combination of things.
Okay. And you know what, Mo, I have to agree with you on the fact that, because how many times, guys, do we see great coaches that stay too long?
Yeah.
And he made the decision, just like you said, Mo, to leave honorably and on top. And we can say on top he didn't win a national championship. But at the end of the day, when you've won that many championships, and you were still in the hunt for another one, you're leaving on top. And I think that was honorable of him. And so anyway, I agree with you.
Kuz?
Yeah, I think it's a combination. Like SEC Mo said, it's a combination of everything, man. I think you got to take his age into consideration. You've got to take in the changes in the game. I mean, at one time, there was a period between the regular season ending and then the bowl game where coaches could take some time off, right? You can't do that anymore because as soon as the season's over, now all of a sudden the transfer portal window's opening up. And they've got to deal with that. So coaches don't really get any time off anymore. And, when you're 72 years old working 14 hours a day and you can't even take a vacation because you can't quit work long enough. I mean, at some point, man, you've got to say, you know what? It's time for me to go into broadcasting. I'm probably not going to do any better than I've done. There's nothing else for me to accomplish. And, there could be some health stuff. I think I read somewhere that he made the decision on his way home from a Florida vacation. I don't know. Did somebody else read that?
I know he didn't really know until he went in there and made the choice, or right before it. He was sitting there talking to Terry at that moment. But it sounds like that's pretty close.
It sounds like almost. I don't want to say spur of the moment because I'm sure he's been thinking about it. But But I mean, it's almost like he made it pretty quickly. So it makes you wonder, is there something going on behind the scenes that we really don't need to know about? It's personal probably, but and I don't want to speculate on that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, I think the changing of the game may have expedited it a couple of years, maybe, but it's probably not. It's probably not the major issue.
If you're hearing that it was from him being in Florida, making the trip back, if that's a report that you've seen, I'm probably about the 85-90% chance that that's probably true. Because he has a place in Florida, he has a whole bunch of dealerships, Mercedes dealerships. I think he has a Ferrari one there too as well. So he spends a lot of time down in the South Florida area with family or whatnot. And so if that's the case, he probably did go down there, probably heard like you said, there's probably some things behind the scene with health, and because he did say something about health concerns. And so if that's the case, there's somebody that's got health concerns that he's close with that he decided, let me go ahead and walk away. And that was in his statement. So that's not speculation there.
Okay. Yeah, obviously I didn't hear him say that. So thanks for clearing that up.
Okay. So if you heard that, if you saw that it was something from him coming from Florida, it's probably 100% true.
Yeah.
I love this comment from Cord. One of my boys from school, he said, in the words of Batman, you either die a hero or live long enough to be the villain. I love it.
Amen.
That's fact.
That's definitely a great comment there, guys. Yeah, look, myself, I feel like that definitely had something to do with it. I don't know that it was necessarily the only reason. I think it had a big part of it. I think that it's become very obvious that he doesn't like his place at the table anymore, that it's not always at the top. You've heard him lament and complain about NIL and the transfer portal when he's always been in favor of paying players. And we know that he did a good job at it before this all became legal to do so. So and I'm not disrespecting the GOAT at all. He is the man and everything else, but I think that it had a lot more to do with it probably than he would ever, admit to. But I do also think that, man, he's 72 years old. He can go hang out and play with Tiger and those guys, play golf with Tiger every day if he wants to and fish. I don't necessarily blame him.
I think the thing is, I've said this on my podcast a number of times. The thing that I'm happiest about for Nick Saban is that he went out on his own terms. And I think that's something is going to be overlooked. Biggest thing is that, Coach mentioned that first two coaches that come to mind is Joe Pa and Bobby Bowden. And I think the game had kind of passed them in a sense. And plus, the transfer portal gives us and the transfer portal takes us away. So the things you got to remember is that back in those days with them, transfer portal wouldn't have been beneficial simply because, players still had to set out. It was the whole eligibility rule, right? Yeah. So I don't think he went out. I don't think he's going out on those terms where it's kind of a low note, kind of like a sour note. But I'm just happy that he's going out on his own terms, that he can kind of do what he wants to do, similar to kind of how Spurrier went out. Spurrier kind of went out on his own terms. He chose two different paths to go out, right? So yeah.
Even still, guys, I mean, let me just interject this 1 second. Just this one quick question. Do you guys think that even if it was something other than NIL and the way he feels that his seat at the table is right now based on everything that's going on, do you think that he would ever admit that based on the personality that Nick Saban is?
Never. But you can see it written all over his face with David Pollack last year, sitting at the desk at ESPN, after the national championship game. So, I mean, I think you could see it written all over his face, and, body language will definitely tell you that he wasn't a happy camper. And I think that you've heard him barking and complaining, and, hey, change hits us all differently. You know what I mean? And I think the older we get, the more that we don't like change or whatever, you get into your routine, you like it the way that you do. And when you've been winning national championships and dominating the sport and everybody's loving on you, he's gotten questioned an awful lot more over the last few years than he ever did. And I think another part of it is the fact that, guys, he's having to retrain coaches year after year after year after year.
Maybe he got tired of that, Texas. Excuse me. Yeah. Maybe he got tired of doing that.
Well, and I tell you, it is. And I tell you, I mean, and I agree. I think everybody's made their points here. And at the end of the day, guys, let's celebrate. I think that's the biggest thing is let's celebrate the fact that the GOAT is going out on top, and let's respect him for that. And we're never going to know the true story to why he decided to leave. But I think it's a multitude of things. I think everybody here hit on a different point, and I think they probably were all part of his reason. But I will tell you this, having been an ex-coach, I can tell you that you also know in your heart and in your mind when it's time to get out and move on.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly what it came down to with Nick. I mean, we can talk about NIL, we can talk about portal, we can talk about illnesses, we can talk about age, but it was a conglomerate of all those things that ultimately he knew it was time. So, hey, kudos to Coach Saban and his successes.
Right.
For sure.
And I think James has got it right. And he hit the nail on the head here. Let's be fair. No one has been a bigger advocate for players than Saban in the last 30 years. For that reason, I doubt it's because of NIL or transfer portal that sent him out. Yeah. Listen, man, I think that that's a solid thing to say. I tend to agree with part of it. But I also know that, you can watch and listen to what he said over the last few years. It's not the same thing. And I'm not saying that he hasn't been a great advocate for players. I don't think that's what anybody's saying. I think that the direction that college football is headed in, he may not be that excited about. And not just because of him winning or losing or whatever either. But I also think that, we're watching Dabo kick and scream and go crazy about it out at Clemson, right? Same kind of deal. I think
we can't compare Dabo and Saban, though. We actually like Saban.
Listen, I've listened to Saban and watched Saban say things that it's not the same as Dabo, but it's along the same lines of what they're talking about. That either one of them are excited about using the using NIL as an enticement. That's a big thing that Saban was a part of. Again,
there's no coach. I don't think any coach likes that, though, Jason, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think Coach likes the idea of actual players getting paid, but like actually being paid in the right way. Like just write them a check from the revenue you're getting. Something real.
Yeah, and it's similar to the argument that was just made about him having to retrain coaches. What about not being able to develop an actual team chemistry? I mean, you're bringing in a number of players every single year, exiting and entering, where you have to figure out new personalities, it seems like, daily. So that in itself is exhausting for coaches. I mean, you can only imagine the amount of stress that's on the coaching staff, which then transfers over to the head coach. Yep. So, I mean, the transfer portal is a gift and a curse, man. I think that there is a lot of good, but there's also the bad that comes with it as well. So I think that, like Coach said, man, he's going out on top. We should all celebrate that. And I mean, let's see what he has in this next chapter of his life, man. Let's see what type of what do they call it? Game correspondence, commentating he can do. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's what's next for him.
I think he's going to be great at it, but we're going to see a lot of him here in the future coming up with that. Guys, obviously, Kalen DeBoer, who had his Washington Huskies, Michael Penix and those guys in the national championship game against Michigan, is tabbed as the next head coach of Alabama. Look, Georgia and a lot of the SEC and throughout the country, Florida State as well, have really smelled that blood in the water and jumped on it. What did you guys think about the hire first and foremost, and about what you saw from other programs throughout the country that were, moving quickly to try to get as much of that roster and coaching staff as they could possibly get? Start with you, Jay.
Yeah, I think it was a solid hire. Rumor has it that was the day that Saban, as soon as Saban retired, within a few hours that their AD was flying to Washington. So that was the dude that they wanted. Of course, the speculation was Dan Lanning and everybody else, but that's who we wanted at the media. That's who we thought made the most sense. But it sounds like they wanted Kalen from jump. And I get why, too. I mean, if you look at his record, he's 104-12 in his years of coaching. And he's not been at anywhere longer than really 3 years. So he hasn't really had to settle on his own recruiting except for his first job. Most of the job he's going in, he's taking those old recruits that another coach brought in, and he's coaching them up into wins, going all the way into getting to Washington. He's using Jimmy Lake and Chris Peterson's final set of players, and he got them to not only 10 wins a year, 10 years of win before, and then he goes to a national championship the next year. And so, to me, I think it'll be good. We'll see him do well probably the first 2-3 years because he's going to do well with the talent that there's at Alabama. The question's going to be, who does he bring in to help them recruit very well in the SEC territory, and what does it look like year 4? Year 4 is going to really be the definitive year. I can expect him to get 9 to 10 wins over the first couple of years with him because he's a really good coach. But it's going to be all about what does they look like going forward. They just hired the guy from Buffalo, Maurice. Didn't pronounce his last name, but he was the coach at Buffalo. Crazy part about it was he was an assistant at Texas A&M. He was an assistant at Mississippi State. So he has SEC ties. He's going after dudes. The South Alabama coach, he's in Alabama. So he's going for dudes that have ties within the trail of the SEC, which is actually quite genius on his part because he couldn't lure Coach T-Rob away from taking the job at Georgia, which I get why he took that job too. He wasn't ready to take over the entire defense by himself and literally be on his shoulders. He wants to be mentored by his guy, Will Muschamp. The only other smart hire I think they could have done was honestly going after Muschamp and bringing him in as DC, because that would have kept T-Rob in town, and then T-Rob could have developed into the defensive coordinator within a year or two. But he's making all the right moves, getting guys that have ties in the area that he needs to get ties into, and now we get to see him put in work. We'll give him some time. Hopefully.
What do you think about the hire?
I mean, I thought when I first heard about it, I was a little I don't want to say shocked, but surprised, because I thought there were better names out there. But then when I researched a little bit more about Kalen DeBoer, he's won at every level He won. It's my understanding he won national championships at the NAIA level, and obviously he did well at Washington. Yes. So the guy's a proven winner, and of course there were stops in between. He did well at as well, but yeah, I mean he's a winner, and I think it's hard to go wrong there. And I'm sure Nick Saban may have had a say in it as well. Who knows, or at least gave his opinion. And if Nick Saban thinks he's a good coach, then he's probably a good coach. So I think it's a good move. And like Jay said, I think he's bringing in the right people. He knows what his weaknesses are. So he's bringing in people that can help with that. He's not a Southeast guy, but he's hiring people that are. And that's kind of what Matt Rule did when he went to Baylor a few years ago, man. He brought in guys that he had never recruited to Texas or the southern part of the country much. So he brought in staff that could, Joey McGuire, for example, and it ended up working out. So I think DeBoer is going about it the right way, but man, you talk about pressure. How would you like to be replacing the greatest of all time? I mean, it's a lot of pressure.
It is. It is. But these guys are definitely
that's what you live for.
Right.
That's what you live for.
Absolutely. No, it is. It is for sure. And these guys are competitors, and they have a lot of confidence in themselves. I'm sure they wouldn't be where they are. So
if you didn't want the Alabama job, you needed to get out of coaching.
Yeah.
I think what Kim is saying here, Kalen doesn't seem to be Bama serious about defense as much as offense. Now, either any of you guys can take this, but I would say that, look, I think that this is definitely going to be what defines his tenure in Tuscaloosa. You know, will they get and play that style of football that we know that it takes to win in the SEC and win national championships?
Yeah.
You guys?
Yeah. I think that this was the best possible hire for Alabama coming off of the Nick Saban retirement, for the simple fact that you have one of the coaches that was just in the national championship game. Yeah. Harbaugh he has his own thing going on up in Michigan. We really don't know what's going on. He's asking for immunity for what we don't know. There's just a lot
know
going
why
around.
For cheating.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that DeBoer is the best possible hire for Alabama at this point in time. The only thing that's working against DeBoer right now is the mass exodus of players that just left the Alabama roster. Now, to counter that, I will also say that there's going to be a mass exodus of players from Washington. So he can technically have the pick of the litter. I mean, from a skill player standpoint, he has the pick of the litter. But what cost him the national championship game was in the trenches. Alabama already has trench play built in. So if he can bring in skilled players to replace the ones that just left Alabama, he could possibly win 10, 11 games next season. I do not foresee Alabama having an undefeated season for at least 2 to 3 years. Now, I'm not saying that he can't make it happen. I just don't see it happening with everything leveling out in the SEC right now, with Texas coming in, with Oklahoma coming in, with Sarkisian taking Texas to new heights, with Georgia still sitting over there, with Missouri. I mean, there are a lot of things that are about to happen for DeBoer in the SEC. And the SEC slate is every single Saturday you can lose. He's not seen that before. I mean, you can win at every level, but the SEC is a different animal and a different beast at the same time. So I think that DeBoer has everything working for him. If he turns this roster over properly, he can win 10, 11 games. But we'll see where it goes. But I think it was a home run hire for Alabama at this point in time.
Coach, Kchris, either one?
Go ahead, Kchris.
You're muted, Kchris.
Chris, I always muted. Hey, man, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Jay, stop. Come on, man. Come on, Jay.
I always mute. I'm just saying, you was on mute. You was. That's facts. You know, facts don't care about our feelings, remember?
I love you, Jay. You're my brother, man. I'm gonna let you live. Anyways, like I was trying to say, okay. I'm reluctant to really give it the KG approval, really, the stamp of approval, simply because of a couple of things. I'm not sure if the philosophies match. SEC Mo, he pointed out kind of just, well, Kuz as well. Everybody talked about just, hey, defense this, defense that. Look, I get that, so I'll let you guys have that. But for me, I'm just like, okay, Sonny Dykes S is kind of the higher, right? Is it lightning in a bottle with these super seniors and all the rest of that he had on that Washington roster, right? Did they catch lightning in a bottle? So the thing is that obviously they've had 10-win seasons, and I can't discredit that. Winning is hard. I get that. And the Pac-12, honestly, whatever you want to say, whatever knocks you have, it probably was the deepest conference this year. From top to bottom, simply, we're just going off of this year. And last year they had a really good run as well, and a lot of momentum off the Texas win as well. But biggest thing for me, I was just like philosophies change, right? And the mass exodus that you talked about, SEC Mo. The thing is, that's a mass exodus, but it's not a lot of production following that mass exodus right now as well. So that's the thing that kind of, I'm like, hey. My aunt, we talked about this, and he said, well, do these players leave if Nick Saban is still there? Yes, they leave. These guys are going, and they have 1 to 2 years of eligibility left, and they haven't really seen the field all that much. They've been on special teams. They've done certain things. Situational players. They haven't been the go-to guys that they have been, all throughout their high school tenure and all the rest of that stuff. So some of those guys haven't panned out. The Blackshire kid, we thought, Ty has talked about a lot of these kids at nauseum, but the thing is, it's just the fact that they haven't necessarily seen the field as much. So I think he's going to be okay. I think the only thing that I would say that I'm excited about is just seeing how he uses Milroe. I think that he can get the most out of Milroe because, contrary to belief, there was a time where people were not big on a certain quarterback who tore both of his ACLs, right? Who tore both of his ACLs and transferred from Indiana to Washington. So all this Penix hype, this last year and a half, that's great. But a lot of people were not big on that kid. A lot of people, I wondered, why was he transferring? Will he ever even get a shot to even see the field at Washington when he transferred? So I'm excited to see what he can do with a quarterback like Milroe, who I think has all the talent in the world to not only win a Heisman, but to be a top pick if he can put it all together here. Because that's what's really holding him back, is just right here. Once he gets that, and as you've seen his maturation over the season, I think he can be better. But I think this offense, if I'm correct, is he bringing Grubb with him, or is he keeping?
Yes. Grubb's coming. Just about the offensive staff. Grubb, the Shepherd, the wide receiver coach is coming, which they needed one because Alabama just lost their wide receiver coach, which is a good thing because his results have shown he had 3 number 1 wide receivers basically on their roster last year, so it's good. But I want to comment on your last comment, Chris, real quick. You made the point of a lot of these dudes leaving because and there's a lot of production ain't going. You're spot on with one thing, too. A lot of people have the misconception that a lot of these players want to play on these teams that are winning, but they only want to do that if they're actually playing. If you've noticed, a lot of these kids bounce out when they see that there's no chance of them playing, especially ones with halfway decent talent. They're the ones that usually thinking, well, I should be starting. I'm going to go ahead and roll and go somewhere where I can start. That's the one thing the transfer portal has really created for us, is guys seeing that I don't want to sit behind this dude for 3 years. I actually want to go play for 2 years somewhere, and they're taking that opportunity. Is that always a good thing? Absolutely not. But we all deserve the opportunity to make bad decisions in our lives. And so for some of them, actually starting somewhere may not be, it may be better for them in their draft status. And some others, 1 year of body of work and film is usually enough to get you drafted too. So yeah, you're seeing a lot of these dudes that are really leaving. They aren't ones that you think should be starting somewhere.
Here's one other thing that I think that could get me excited to get that step of approval to the hire is that I think that Kalen DeBoer and staff instantly day one, I think that they improved that offensive line. I think that they shuffle some guys around. Why is his name escaping me? The tackle from Iowa, the 5-star kid.
Proctor.
Yes.
Proctor.
I think that they have a come to Jesus with him about, hey, son, either we're going to move you inside or you're probably going to have to shed some to be able to move, especially with what we're trying to do in our offense with our offensive line, because they have some pretty unique concepts with their offensive line. Hell, they won the Joe Moore Award this year.
Right.
So And they looked really good against Texas, except for the run. They weren't good on run blocking, but as far as pass blocking, I thought they were terrific. But I mean, and again, they don't really have a pass rush. But when you think about it, though, I think that instantly day one they have a chance to not only improve Milroe, but also improve that offensive line as well, which is going to go hand in hand. I think skill positions you're going to be all right. It's Bama. They're going to have guys that are still there who, you got 4 and 5 stars all over the field. I mean, still there. So you just got to figure that out. But I wouldn't be surprised if they do go and pull some guys from the portal or whatnot. I think with DeBoer, the first move that you can really judge him off of is what does he do in the second wave? And what I mean by that is is there anybody else that he's going to pick up from his recruiting class that he had at Washington, or is there anybody that he's going to be looking at in this second wave of high school recruits, and then also the second transfer portal as well? So I think that's really what's going to kind of, I'm being patient, just kind of seeing what are his moves, so I can kind of see what's a good forecast for them this year.
Well, based on that, let me kind of play devil's advocate really quick. Mm-hmm. So you made the point that you think that he's going to automatically or instantly improve the O-line. Now, of course, Washington was touted as the best offensive line in the country this year, but they were completely demolished in that national championship game. And I mean, it was painful to see how brittle they made Michael Penix look in the pocket.
Yeah. Look them up.
And then you go, and then to go again, you said the philosophies. I mean, the philosophy at Washington was a lot different than it is at Alabama. Are those offensive linemen built to block the schemes that Washington is known for as the best offensive line? Even the body composition of the lineman is completely different.
Definitely.
So I'm interested to see how he uses that offensive line to his advantage, whether he has a strength coach to recompose the bodies of those offensive linemen to fit his scheme, or if he just kind of marries the run philosophy of the SEC, the big monsters in the middle. I mean, is he going to marry that concept, or is he going to bring something different? We'll see.
I guess my Purple Orca had something to say here, saying that his recruiting at Washington kind of sucked. I think the problem with that is he's only been there 2 years, guys. He's only been there 2 years, and this is a program that before he got there didn't average any better than about 30th in the country. Yet they were playing for a national championship.
My point. He ain't been nowhere long enough to actually see a true recruiting class come to fruition. He's been playing with everybody else's recruits. Luckily, the recruits he's playing with here are top 5 recruiting classes the last 10 years.
Yeah, no doubt.
Big difference.
If he can hold some of these guys.
As Chris mentioned, most of the guys leaving ain't production. It's just dudes leaving.
Yeah, and you're not going to give up. You're not going to give up a starting spot at Alabama, until you get kicked out of it, right?
And something else, guys. You don't have to be a producer all the time, because the thing that the portal is hurting is, like y'all have already talked about, is what about your backups? You got to have some depth, and that's where I'm also looking at things is, what kind of depth are they going to be able to recruit or keep in the portal? Sure, they got guys leaving that haven't been productive, but were they strong backup?
One thing that and just to piggyback off of Coach's point, I think what we also got to remember is that this is Bama. Okay, this is the land of gray shirts.
It is Bama.
All right, so we got red shirts. We got the players that play. We got the kids that are travel, and we got gray shirts that are waiting, that they've told, hey, you don't even go to school. Don't even do nothing. Just
hang on.
Just hang on. So, I mean, I think that we all need to realize, and even a blind man could see, Saban's still going to have his hands on this program. Yeah. Saban is not just handing over those keys like, hey, Lincoln, you got a Lamborghini, don't ruin it. Saban's like, hey, look, I'm about to give you these keys real quick. Let me show you around real quick. I'm still going to be around, but I'm going to be on vacation. But if you need me, call me. If you don't call me,
driving
I'll
teacher.
Call you. You know what I'm saying? So
he's
but
that might not be all good either, guys. But that might not be all good either.
Yeah.
I mean, because DeBoer's going to come in and want to do his thing, and Saban may still be in that office next door, and there could be some conflict in there as well. It may not all be hell. There may be some conflict. So lots of stuff going on with this.
Yeah. What I would say is it's not like everybody didn't have some talent that has entered the portal and left. I mean, you got to talk about guys like Isaiah Bond. They're gone. He was their number one receiver this season. He's a 5-star. He's going to Texas. That not only did you lose him, but you lost him to now a conference opponent that beat you this year. Then you've got, look, if a guy like Caleb Downs ends up leaving, what does that do though? And look, that kind of brings me to the next thing I wanted to talk about. The ripple effect is really, you've saw Kirby kind of smell that blood in the water, jump in there, try to not only take players from the program, because he's also going in and getting after coaching staff. We're talking. How big of a deal is that to you that you're going to go in there and he's just? It almost feels like he's trying to, while you have an opportunity to, deliver a death blow there for that program.
Yeah.
Well,
that's the smart thing to do.
Why not? Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it's a dog-eat-dog world in college sports right now, man. And why not?
Especially in the SEC, man.
Absolutely.
And then you have the Big 10 up there in the north. They're buffing up. You know what I mean? They're bringing in every single powerhouse team that was in the Pac-12, and we know the Pac-12 carried college football this year. I don't necessarily know how much they're going to be able to do that long term, because we all know that the SEC and the Big Ten is going to eat each other alive. So, I mean, whoever comes out of the scruff the least scathed is going to be the victor. So, I mean, man, Kirby is doing the right thing, bro. I mean, then you got Sarkisian taking his pick of the litter. I don't even think I mentioned Lane Kiffin.
Too.
I mean, he's Portal King right now.
5 guys from Alabama, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they like you said, they smell blood in the water. They know what they need to do to win. And then, like you said, you have a scoring Mike Norvell down there with the Florida State team. And I mean, what other option does he have? You may as well go get the best you can get. I hope you get a quarterback while you're at it. You know what I mean? And maybe you can win enough games to be considered next year for a 12-team playoff. But, I mean, Kirby's doing the right thing, in my opinion, man. Eat or be eaten.
And Jason, I want to back up just for a second on DeBoer, as far was he the right hire. And one thing I'll say, the guy, his overall coaching record is 104 wins, 12 losses. Guys, that's pretty damn impressive. Impressive. That's almost sounds Nick Saban-like, doesn't it?
Yep.
I think that's an impressive stat. Now I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth just so y'all know. But again, he's going to be in the SEC, right? He you can bring that 104-12 into the SEC, but that may not be shit at the end of the day when you talk about the SEC. I mean, obviously he won 3 NAIA championships, like was mentioned earlier, and 4 in the GPAC and 1 in the Pac-12. And again, the other thing that was talked about here was, you know what? He hadn't been anywhere for a very long time. Okay.
Right.
So as a head coach, he was at Fresno for 2 years, at Washington
he just went
for
and quick
2 years.
Because he better probably.
In and out, in and out. And, sometimes you can really make waves when you do some things like that. You come in, and obviously, God, you got to give him credit for what he did at Washington. I mean, and what he did at Fresno. I mean, he's done some good things.
Yeah.
But absolutely. at the end of the day, there's so many factors here. We've just touched on the tip of the iceberg of some of the things that deal with the Alabama program, the Alabama mystique, and can he live up to all that? Because he's got to do it his way. But are people going to like it his way? There's so much here, guys, that it's almost mind-blowing as we have this conversation, because there's so many things that are involved here that, you know what, in like, I think, Jay, you said it, in 4 years, the proof's in the pudding. In 4 years, we'll see in 4 years, did he get it done? Or is Alabama going to become one of the all you others and fall back in? Because how many times have we seen great programs have great coaches, great successes, and when you see a major change like this, you see that drop, and it turns into a spiral, and they can't pull it back again. So again, 4 years, proofs in the pudding. I'm still not sure they hired the right guy, but I'm not sure they didn't. So, like I said, talking out of both sides of my mouth.
I kind of agree with you on that, Coach, because I feel like the biggest challenge that DeBoer has, other than roster turnover, coaching turnover, and everything else, is being the guy to fill Nick Saban's shoes. That's the biggest challenge he has to overcome, because that is a fickle fan base. They started to turn on Nick Saban at the beginning of this season, believe it or not. And the minute that he does not do something that is not Nick Saban-like, or the minute that that team starts to lose games, that could become really ugly really fast. And just like Coach is saying, man, I mean, there is an opportunity for him to do great things, but there's also so many moving parts that his head is probably spinning right now. If we think that this is a lot for us, we can only imagine what it's like for him. You know what I mean? So I think that the biggest challenge that he's going to have to overcome year one and possibly year two is redefining the team and letting the fan base know, hey, the Nick Saban era is over. I'm Kalen DeBoer. I'm going to do things the DeBoer way, and y'all are going to have to get used to it. Let the chips fall where they may. But if he can't get past that Nick Saban comparison, or allow the fan base to understand, hey, the Nick Saban era is over, then he's going to fail.
The only way to do that is to win, right? I mean, it doesn't. You're not getting away from that comparison ever. There's no way. You're following the guy.
You know, Nick Saban made them forget Bear Bryant. You know,
that was going to be my point. Yeah.
So it is now DeBoer's opportunity to let them forget Nick Saban.
Yeah.
But what a chore that is, my man.
It's a tough.
I mean, only 2 coaches ever done it.
Still a big opportunity, though. I mean, to be able to take this over. I mean, look, if you do well, you don't do well, you got to be big money to come and take this thing over. It's a big undertaking, but it's also set up in a position like we're talking about here. There's still a lot of talent in that room. There's more talent than he had when he got to Washington. That's for sure. And it's more talent than he was going to have at Washington this season, which I think it's
a hell of a lot more expectations too.
That's a fact.
Heavy is the head that wears the crown.
True.
Yep.
Listen, I kind of wanted to move in, and I wanted to move into the direction of the Big 12 with this as well. But I'm trying to make that connection of, okay, so you get DeBoer, he comes and takes over this position here. I would tell you, and we can talk about this as well, but you get Washington moves quickly and hires Jed Fish. Great hire, I think. I think Arizona was they should have done something about that. Paid the dude. If he was willing to stay, they should have made him stay and paid him to stay. My question would be, and obviously you're looking like Fafita, some of these other first-round projected guys are probably following him over there to Washington. They're headed to the Big 10. Kuz, what does this do to the overall power of the Big 12 when you look at that? Because I think that this was an Arizona team that was coming in ready to compete for the championship year one.
I agree with that. And I think a lot of it depends on if Fafita and some of those guys do leave, because it's not, they haven't made their mind up yet. And there's, if you listen to what some of the Arizona media is saying, if if Arizona's new coach will bring in some of the right assistants, those guys may stay. So if that happens, then I still think they might have a shot to be as good even without Jed Fish. I don't know a whole lot about the new coach. He came from San Jose State. I don't know a lot about him other than what I've read online. He has a losing record, but he's at San Jose State where they have basically zero resources. So I read an article or something, I think it was yesterday or today, that said he had to pay for his guys to eat at times. So, I mean, that's how bad it is at San Jose State. And
it is, yes.
And yet he was still able to take them to bowl games. So I think he's a good coach. But as far as the Big 12 goes, I do think it has a chance to be a black eye a little bit to the conference from a national perspective because, like I said in a video I did yesterday, from a national perspective, Arizona was kind of that shiny penny, right, from the Big 12.
Yeah,
they have
absolutely.
The young star quarterback, the 5-star receiver. You know, they're new to the league. I mean, all the storylines were great. Arizona coming in 18 to 22 starters back. They just beat Oklahoma. Sorry, guys. They just beat Oklahoma in the Alamo Bowl. I mean, everything looked great, right? Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden you find out, well, wait a minute, Arizona's not even willing to pay their coach, not even counter the offer from Washington, at least based on what I've read.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Wasn't a priority to keep him, according to Jason Shearer, 24/7 Sports. So I'm like, wait a minute.
Does that kind of sound to you, Kuz, like maybe it was as bad as everybody was talking about it being in the Pac-12 before all this realignment stuff happened? I mean,
well, I think it's just Arizona specifically. But I mean, I do think it was bad in the Pac-12, but I think in this case, it's more Arizona specific. They're having a lot of financial problems. But I'm of the camp, and of course, maybe I'm biased because I'm a football fan, right? But I'm of the camp that believes football helps pay the bills.
Yeah.
You probably ought to take care of your coach who's arguably going to take you to the college football playoff next year and make you a shit ton of money. And you probably need to keep that guy because he's probably going to make you more money than you're going to spend having to counter what Washington just offered him. I mean, to me, I just don't think it makes sense unless, maybe it wasn't going to matter. Maybe he was going to leave anyway. Maybe he likes the idea of going to the Big 10. Maybe he wasn't happy at Arizona. I don't know. But whatever it is, I do think it can have an impact. Long term, it may not impact the Big 12 at all. But I think short term it could because of, like I said earlier, just the shiny new penny effect of Arizona and everybody picking them to win the conference and all that is going to kind of – now everybody's going to look at the conference and be like, yeah, they're still middle and they still suck, That's kind of how I view it.
Well, but you do definitely have some programs coming in. There's a lot of hype around Coach Prime, as we know.
Right.
Utah has been one of the top teams in the Pac-12 already. Mm-hmm. Look, when you have a school like Arizona, and to me, if you're coming from a situation in the Pac-12 that it hadn't ever really been good at football, but you have an opportunity to kind of seize on the opportunity in the moment to kind of change the way things have been for you in the past, because we all know Arizona football's been trash.
Right.
Trash, not even kind of good, bad. But it just has been. And I mean, there's really no reason for it, but that's a fact. Well, you got an opportunity to come and really kind of change things and put yourself in a position to get into a playoff picture that you would have never been in the Pac-12.
Exactly.
And so to me, it seems like this is I think they fumbled the bag here. Okay, Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, I think they fumbled the bag as well. I think they had all the momentum of the world coming off the Alamo Bowl, and it just kind of shows that, at the drop of the dime, the drop of the hat, it could all go to kablooey. But I don't know. I think they may still be able to keep a nucleus of their team, but it's going to be really interesting, and that's the reason why I was really excited about talking about this topic of what's next for the Big 12, because, man, the Big 12 is wide open. I've seen polls where OSU is Okie Light is supposed to win it. I've seen polls where, obviously, I think my pick would be Utah right now with Cam Rising. I can't go against that, man.
Yeah,
but I mean, then again, you really
plus he'll be 30.
Yeah, you really don't know. I Colorado coming in. Kuz, honestly, I think, hey, I keep telling you that gosh, what's your coach's name up there?
Neil Brown.
Neil Brown. I keep telling you, I thought this was it this year. I thought it was it. I thought it was over.
Yeah, so did we.
Kuz tell you that too.
Yeah, Kuz.
He
him back. I said, wow. I said, I bet you Kuz is on 10 right now. I was like, I don't know. I think it's time for the next chapter of that. But you never know which team that was kind of middle of the road last year in the Big 12 or even towards the bottom is going to catch lightning in a bottle and be really good this year. And I think y'all have a chance to do that. But we can see a resurgence from Baylor. Don't tell them what Sonny Dykes and TCU is going to do. I don't know what the hell they're going to do. But the Big 12 is going to be, if y'all thought it was a cannibalized league with OU and Texas, y'all ain't seen nothing yet. Because and the thing is, to be honest with you,
is that good for the league or is that bad?
It's not good for the league, but
it's not good.
It's gonna make it more entertaining as far as you're not just banking on OU and Texas, who's gonna make it and win it, right? I say this right here. I'm giving y'all my winner of the league, way too early prediction for the league, and then also my sleeper. I'm gonna go with Utah. Obviously, I think that's the obvious choice for me. But I'm gonna tell you now, and Kuz, you could correct me if I'm wrong. You can laugh if you want. I think UCF may be the sleeper in there because I think KJ Jefferson is going to take that offense to a whole level. Because we saw what it could be like under Plumlee, injured Plumlee. But I think KJ Jefferson, he just scratched the surface on how good he could be this year, especially with him he had the mindset. He lost the weight. He got into the best shape that I think he's been in since he's been in college. And I think he's going to be dangerous in that offense as well. And I think he's going to be a big running target. And we've seen what Malzahn can do with big running quarterbacks, those big quarterbacks like that.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting to see.
I like the dark horse. Only thing with UCF, and I'll let somebody else speak after I say this, but I think with UCF, when you look at them from a skill position standpoint, it's hard to look around the Big 12 and find a team that's in better shape than they are, to be honest. Yeah. But can they solidify things in the trenches, because that's where they struggled last year?
Yeah.
And I haven't followed them closely enough to know what they've done in the offseason. But if they don't solidify that, I'm not sure they're going to be that much better.
Yeah.
Jefferson's obviously going to help, and he might win them a game or two more than they won last year just by himself. But if they want to compete for the conference title, they're going to have to shore things up on the line.
And that's a great point, because UCF as a team, they have to jump out early on you, or they're going to fall. They're going to lose.
I went to Orlando to watch West Virginia play them last year in person, and West Virginia absolutely dominated them. Their offense dominated them in the run game. West Virginia was able to run. They could still be running if they wanted to be. I mean, it was terrible.
Yeah,
UCF couldn't stop the run game at all, and so that's, if they can shore that up, then I'd feel better about it.
I have a question for the panel on this though. Like, what's the definition of what makes it good or not for the conference? I guess is my question when it comes to the conference being competitive. Like, how do you say if it's good or if it's not good? Because to me, having a conference that's extremely top heavy ain't good. Like, that's not a good thing for the conference. It actually makes the conference less entertaining. Hence why the things with the Big 12 was, even for years, it was mainly just top teams. That was it, right? We see that with the SEC. It's Bama, Georgia, and then occasionally you'll see a random LSU title come here or there. A random Auburn shows up. But it's, and then, Florida has their moments, but it's mainly Bama, Georgia. And it's been like that for like the last, say 5, 6, probably 10 years. What's bad about a conference being competitive and having a lot of teams having the ability to cannibalize each other, especially with an expanded playoffs? To me, that's just going to be more money for the Big 12 because people are going to actually want to watch it.
Can I take this question, because that's actually a point that I wanted to bring up, and I'm glad you asked that question, because I don't think it's going to be good for the Big 12 due to the fact that there are going to be so many losses between them that they won't, their schedules, the strength of schedule isn't going to matter in comparison to the Big 10 and the SEC in the wide scope of things. Because at the end of the day, there are going to be 12 teams in the playoff, but if you have a 2-loss, 3-loss Colorado, 2 or 3-loss UCF and so on and so forth, The only reason it would matter is if you're a Big 12 fan. You know what I mean? Yeah, you want your conference to be competitive, but it's only going to be competitive to you because you're the only one that's invested in it. You know what I'm saying? Now, in the big scope of things, if you have a 2-loss Georgia, which is probably not going to happen, but you have Oregon, you have Ohio State, Wisconsin, you have all of these teams who are perennially known to have 1 loss or less. If you have at least 10 teams that have 1 or 2 losses compared to a Big 12 team that has 2 to 3, the strength of schedule isn't going to match up when it comes to the to the 12-team playoff. So, I mean, in that sense, I think it's going to be a bad thing for the Big 12 because, yeah, you can eat each other alive, but at the end of the day, you're not going to be you're being compared to the Big 10 and the SEC in the grand scope of college football in the playoff.
I think the committee told us this year. I think the committee told us this year what they think of the Big 12. I mean, Texas got in, yes, because of their victory over Alabama.
Right. Yeah.
But there was no other Big 12 team, including Oklahoma, who got a New Year's Six game. It was almost all SEC teams and Big 10 teams.
And I'm gonna I just want to add to what Mo was saying, and to kind of answer your question, Jay, and really kind of simplify kind of what Mo said. You know, Coach, I'm a simple old guy, not real smart, and so the bottom line is what makes it competitive. If all your teams are shitty and they beat each other all the time, that's a simple way of putting it. Now, if they're all good and competing all the time, then you're competitive. But a shitty competitive is not good.
But how do you know that if they're all playing each other?
That's exactly what.
Right,
that's the
but you don't know that,
Coach.
But you don't know that until with them playing each other. Like you really don't know that until they're playing non-conference. So like for example, Big 12 teams go. Let me give you like a hypothetical. Right, we're gonna throw some devil's advocates out there. You know, the devil never needs an advocate. Is if you've got these Big 12 teams and they're non-conference, they go undefeated, or they lose like two non-conference games, right? But then when they go in against each other, you start seeing them beating each other up. How does that make them like a bad league? Like, for example, I think one year the SEC had all teams but one make it into a bowl game because it basically cannibalized each other from number 3 down. Everybody basically was beating each other, and the second to last team was 6-6, right? And it was because they won all their non-conference games. Does that mean the conference was good, or does that mean the conference was bad? If everybody in there was basically had like 4 losses because they all lost in conference, and the only teams that did good was Georgia and Alabama. Like,
But who's their non-conference games? I think that's a big question.
Right.
I mean, you got to see who they're playing in non-conference. You know, hell, if they're playing UTEP, and it's a competitive game, you know they're probably pretty shitty.
Well, I mean, we get that part. My point is if the conference is being competitive with each other, like I just don't know if you can determine something being good or bad based upon how they play against each other in the conference. That's my question.
And I will disagree with you. I think you can easily tell. I mean, and when you watch football, I mean, we all know, every one of us in this room, as much as we watch football, you can sit and watch teams and say, boy, they're not worth a shit. Then you can say, hey, that team's pretty good. I mean, they still got some improvement to make here and there, but you can tell, guys. I just, that's the way I feel.
Yeah.
All right, Coach.
I get you. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if your eye test says that they look good on the field, like it's a pretty good competitive team, looks like they're both really playing a chess match.
Right.
But the conference is cannibalizing each other. Does that still make the conference bad? That's kind of my point. Like it's so subjective with all of those, with all the conversations. That's what makes it so tough for me.
So do you think the Big 12 teams? Because see, there's been an argument. West Virginia has been scheduling 2 Power 5 opponents out of conference now for several years, and both Neil Brown and our AD Ren Baker has said they're going to stop doing that. I'm of the opinion that now with a 12-team playoff, they need to stick to that. In order to help their strength of schedule. But if they lose those games, does it help them? You know what I'm saying?
And you know, Kuz, if you remember early on in the conversation tonight, one of the first things I talked about was with the 12-team bracket. Now, what do your schedules look like?
Yeah.
Are you going to position yourself to be able to be in that final 12? And I think that's going to be a key to the getting in the playoffs is how do you schedule?
Yeah.
I mean, let's go back and look at Michigan, guys. Let's be honest. They played one ball game before the playoffs, and that was Ohio State.
Yeah.
Other than that, who did they play, guys?
Some people may say Penn State, but we know Penn State can't get over that hump.
Penn State can't wipe their ass.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest.
Why would you keep a really hard schedule when you got a 12-team playoff now, though?
Let me play devil's advocate really quick, because the reason you would want to keep those games on your schedule is for the opportunity to shock the world. Yeah, there's a high chance that you're going to lose, but let's say you do catch like lightning in a bottle and shock the team and shock the world. That's going to not only catapult you into the national conversation, but it's also going to give you a check mark in your strength of schedule if you happen to win out the rest of your games. You know what I mean?
When the SEC goes to a 9-team schedule, that's when things are going to get really – because SEC 8 teams ain't going to be scheduling out of conference like that if they don't have to.
So look,
exactly.
Yeah, we wouldn't have to.
So look, here's to me, I think this is the common denominator of it, and I think this is what we will all agree on. Hopefully, the ACC, the Big 12, and those Group of 5 teams have little to no room for error. They have little to no room for error because the Group of 5 teams that are going to get in, they're damn near going to have to go undefeated and look good. If they're 11-1 or whatever, they're going to have to look good and give a legitimate reason for it. And then also the Big 12 and I think the ACC they're not going to have any room for error because they're the committee will figure out a way. But I will say this: I think that the storylines, and I think that there are certain coaches in the Big 12, obviously prime because of the ratings and what's behind that engine. But I think Kleiman is a coach as well. As much as I hate to say it, I think Gundy, simply because he could give you a little bit of a pop. But I think there's a lot to it. But I mean, I'm actually interested. I'm really interested into seeing. Jason hosted a panel last year, and I was on. I think I was the OU guy. We had Kuz, and we had everybody from every new Big 12 school and all the other resident Big 12 school members as well. And I know a lot of them felt like they were going to do good. Kuz, you remember the BYU guy thought they had a chance to win the conference. Start the season, you were like, they went down there and beat Arkansas. You were like, wait a minute, they may be good, but then we saw what Arkansas was, obviously. So I'm really interested in the Big 12.
BYU was terrible, by the way. I watched them in person.
So what?
BYU was bad, man.
Yeah. I'm interested in seeing what happens with the Big 12 because it's going to be such an interesting conference. Because I would love to say that Arizona, regardless of the coach, should win the Big 12. I would love to say that OSU, because everybody always has said, and I think I've said it, I've been the loudest about it, is that there is. And to me, I think, look, I would give Gundy 2 years and Gundy got to go because there is no reason for Gundy not to run the Big 12 because arguably he's the best coach in the Big 12 right now. Maybe that's a conversation for another day. I'm sorry. I said arguably. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm not
going to allow you to come in here and say ridiculous things like this.
Kuz may be mad at me now.
No, I'm not. I respect Gundy as a coach.
Kchris.
He's a weirdo, but I like it. But he's a good coach.
No, he's weird. He's weird.
You're going to tell me that he's better than Kleiman or no. He's better than Coach Whittingham? The fuck out of here. Come on. Go on there. No.
Jay, back me up on this, man. Please.
Huh? What happened?
Jay, back me up on this.
Who are you? What's your name?
Yeah.
And what's that guy's name? I don't think I've ever met him before. Hey, man, you're on mute. You're on mute again.
When you look at what Gundy's done consistently over time.
Hey, you need to get on mute.
That's going to help his recruiting, in my opinion.
Yeah.
What? You know what's funny? You say that, though, Kuz, but if you look at his recruiting, it's always ass. It's bad. But he, like I said, he does a really good job of developing dudes. It's just the damnedest thing. It's crazy.
Why are there only that many likes there, Boomer129? You guys get in here and hit the freaking like button. You guys aren't enjoying this? Come on now. Look, I'm gonna
Damn good show right now, fellas.
Let me jump in here and say something right now. No. Because he's a gagger. He gets all the way to win a game, lose a game that you go down to UCF the week after beating Oklahoma and get drugged. Find a way to freaking beat BYU somehow and then go to Arlington, get drugged again. It's this is what they do, man. If all you got to do is put a championship in front of them and they're going to gag it away. Let's be serious about that. Come on now. And don't tell me that he's better than Kleiman, and definitely don't tell me that he's better than Coach Witt. Come on.
I got a question, Jason.
Sure.
So I'm just curious from the panel. How many of you believe that group of 5 teams ought to be in this final 12 bracket? And
how many group of 5? Okay, now I wanted to get into this real quick too, because look, Coach, I think a lot of people are under this impression that it's going to be the best 12 teams. Right now, as it stands, if they just do it the way that it's set up originally, it was 6 automatic bids, which would be go to conference champions, one of which would be to a group of 5 school. Now that there is only 4 power conferences, that means you're going to get 2 automatic G5s in the field, which is going to leave somebody out. That probably hurts the Big 12, if you ask me. It certainly hurts the ACC and Big 12 for that matter. Because look, and here's the question: if we really want a playoff that has the best teams in it, is that what you want? Because this group of 5 deal, what was Liberty ranked whenever they got into the the New Year's Six Bowl against Oregon, like 25th or somewhere, like right in the 20 to 25 somewhere, right?
Yeah,
they were the highest ranked G5 school.
Yeah.
So imagine
which that should have been SMU, but I digress.
Had it been this season that you had the 12-team playoff, you've got them and the next highest rated G5
SMU.
program.
And I think SMU probably would have won one of those games.
A playoff?
Yeah.
I'm high on SMU. Yeah, I was high on SMU.
I don't know. The strongest.
I think it's going to get changed.
I think
to 5
we can all
plus
agree
7,
that
though,
the strongest.
Yes, it's 5 plus 7
group
once.
of 5.
Everything's done.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, Mo.
I mean, we can all agree that the strongest group of 5 conference is the American. I mean, you got Memphis, you got Tulane, you got SMU, you got Tulsa, UAB, UTSA. I mean,
except for Tulane, doesn't have their coach anymore. Willie Fritz,
and from there,
they hadn't been good aside from that,
But I mean, over in the Sun Belt, you got the giant killer, Appalachian State, which brings me to my point. You schedule those games for the opportunity to catch lightning in the bottle and shock the world. You know what I mean? Appalachian State has been killing giants for the past 2 decades. I mean, they always have a huge game that they just win for no reason at all.
I put it like this to add to what SEC Mo is saying is this. The 12-team playoff is literally set up to look just like the NCAA tournament, right? College basketball. Yeah. The beauty of March Madness is that we're excited about the first weekend because there's upsets everywhere, random teams win. It's all the excitement. But guess what happens? A 1, 2, 3, or 4 seed ends up in the Final Four and wins that thing. That has been a tradition as old as the game itself.
And
I think one team. And I think, and there's only been one team outside of the top 5 seeds to actually make it into the Final Four. It doesn't happen often enough. But the beauty of it is that first weekend is exciting because you'll see a random Kansas get their butt kicked by Bucknell, or you'll see Virginia lose to University of Maryland or whatnot.
Year.
You've always got a random one. So you're going to get G5s that get in there, and they're going to knock off a top team in there because your top 4 seeds aren't playing the first weekend. So those are the only 4 teams that matter. It's those first weekends. It's going to be fun.
Not for nothing, and no shade on App State. But I ain't calling the A&M a freaking juggernaut for beating them.
I mean, they beat Michigan. That's when they started it.
That was a long
Michigan
time
win
ago.
was
What
started,
did Michigan do? What did Michigan do that season?
I'm just saying that's when it started.
I mean, just because it's a bigger program, but it's still a trash program. These are not giant killers.
Didn't they beat Alabama one time?
Does this program?
They did, Coach.
Would that program need to be in the playoff, though? This is the point. What is the chances of App State getting into winning?
Appalachian State walks in there, if Appalachian State goes 11-1 or 12-0, yes, they deserve to be in there because it's going to be an interesting product. We're not talking about if App State goes 6-6 if they make the play. No, we're talking about if they go to 10 or 11 wins and they make it. It would be worth it because at that point, it looks like they have competition. Perfect example. The last playoffs, right?
That's what Florida State said.
When you had Cincinnati make it and they played against Alabama. They played really good against Alabama in that game. The only problem is that Alabama and Nick Saban is smart. He's like, I'm not about to throw against the two best corners in college football. I'm running down your throat. Right. So he ran for 200 yards in the game. If they weren't going against Alabama, I bet you they would win a playoff game too, because not everybody would think the logic that Nick Saban said when he saw them play. Why would I throw it to Sauce Gardner? That's dumb. The dude's free. He's already made 2 Pro Bowls as a rookie and as a sophomore in the NFL. You know not to go that direction. He used his brain and said, give it to Brian Robinson. Run down their throat. That's the only thing we got going for ourselves. We're not going to throw in this 3-3-5. That'd be stupid. So if a team does go 11-1, maybe 10-2 at minimum, hey, man, there's no reason why they don't deserve to get skull drugged by another team from a Power 4 conference, or they may pull an upset. Because remember, we've seen this for the last 20 years. College football is literally top heavy with usually 4 schools that are actually going to be dominant. Outside of them, everybody in between lose games. We watched UCF when they were a G5 win a bowl game against Auburn. We've seen Utah beat a team when they were a G5. Of course, these teams are now elevated, but we've watched them as G5s win games. Hell, Oklahoma lost to Boise State in the bowl game. We're still trying to ask questions. How the hell did that happen? Those things happen
wasn't playing for a national championship or anything that year either. We're talking about
that is my point. The 4 teams that are actually playing for the title ain't playing the first weekend. They won't even see those teams. They'll be blowing. They'll be playing against at the crib chilling.
And that's not proven at this point. It's not a proven fact. When we've played this 12-team bracket for 3 or 4 years, then I think you can make that statement if that's the way it is. But you can have. I think there's more parity in college football right now than we've had in a long time. And with the things we've been talking about earlier on today, with Alabama now not, what's going to happen there? And we talked about the ripple effects. How many more teams are going to have that opportunity? Are your 6 best teams going to have a chance now instead of just your 4? Or is there going to be 8 teams that are going to be able to really? And I just tell you, my personal opinion, those group of five, I don't think they have any business in here. That's just my personal opinion. I think they ought to play a group of 5 national championship game.
I don't think there should be. I'll tell you another thing. I don't think there should be a single automatic qualifier. I don't think there should be one. No automatic qualifiers.
So nobody gets a bye week. Everybody just goes into the 12-team shuffle.
I mean, you can get a bye week. I'm saying no automatic qualifiers for winning your conference. Why give it an automatic? There's none right now. The only guarantee is that you get one of those CFP games, which is a New Year's 6, or it could be a spot in the playoffs, but there's no guarantee that you're getting in unless you're the SEC and you win the conference championship. But look, if there was a guarantee, Florida State would have been in.
Fair point.
Yeah.
The point is that if we're going to continue to sit here and say that this is about getting the best teams in the playoff, then we gotta put the best teams in the playoff.
We'll never get to that point though. Because it's all subjective. Every given Saturday, anybody could lose a game. So it's always subjective about who could really be considered the best.
Right. But okay, so at which point do you see them break away to a subdivision sooner or later is the next question if you go from there,
I mean, it would be smart. I think that makes the most sense. Like, why it would make the most sense to have 2 separate national championships, because in a sport where you have over 100 teams, it's impossible to find a singular champion. It's impossible. There's too many teams, too many players out there, too many games that need to be played. They only play 12 games, so there's not enough games to even go around. And plus, physically, you shouldn't play more than that because your bodies can't handle it. So.
Well, yeah, the other question I was going to have about this is, do they, and I think this is good, do you keep the conference championship games in this? Because do they even matter at this point? I mean, it could help you for seeding, but here's the thing.
That's the point.
If you are, let's say, Oklahoma, and you finish 3rd in the SEC, and you don't have to play in the conference championship weekend, you get a week off, then the CFP starts a couple of weeks later. So you get a little time to heal up. You don't have to deal with that game. You could make a run a little easier, theoretically, than what whoever the other 2 teams were in that conference championship game. You could see a Penn State a little more rested instead of Michigan and Ohio State, and they make a run. Is the entire? I mean, I feel like we just, we started this whole thing on saying it's only been freaking 8 days ago now, since the champion was crowned. Is it changing so much this next season that you've got to really look at major changes to the way that you do things? SEC Mo, tell me.
And I think that y'all are hitting the nail on the head, man. I would just have a group of 5 championship game, to be honest with you.
Yep.
I mean, because you have so many quality teams in that division. I mean, in the group of 5. I mean, even though the American is top heavy, of course, but I think that it would be beneficial from a monetary standpoint, because you would have so many fan bases invested in those playoff games as well as those national championship games, aside from the big boys, the Power 5. You know what I'm saying? I think that you're going to have equal amount of eyeballs and monetary opportunities to capitalize, especially for the Rose Bowls, the Jerry Worlds, the NRG stadiums. I mean, you have so many facilities and so many opportunities to make money if you did break it off into a group of 5 championship game and a Power 5 championship game. I think that they would both equally be well received, but also the process within the 12-team playoffs for each of those would create so much pandemonium. It would just be, I think that would be a great way to reinvent the wheel of college football, in my opinion.
Right. And I think that what Orca's saying right here, this is what you have to look at, is what if you lose the conference championship game, and say you were the second team in your conference championship game, and you had a tiebreaker over the other team, but you lose the conference championship game. Now the number 3 gets a higher seed into the playoff. There's a lot of stuff that could go on here.
I mean, you win it, then you get a automatic bid, and you probably can get a bye week.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
I think that makes the conference championships more valuable at that point. Win all your conference games, win the championship.
Would you rather not play in the conference championship? And if you lose, would you have rather not been the team in it? You know?
No,
what I mean?
I don't think so. I think that they take pride in actually making it to the conference championship and winning all the games that lead up to it, to be honest.
You say that, but I mean, you could almost.
I think at that point, you ask the question, why even play any of the games if you could potentially lose? What value do you have if you lose the game? Then you may be eliminated from the playoffs. Why would you make the playoffs?
Mm-hmm. But you get a bye week. Yeah,
and just
said you get a bye week by not playing in the conference championship game.
What was that guy that, just my opinion? He said that if you don't want to see if you don't want to see a group of 5 champion play a Power 5 champion, why put the group of 5 in the playoffs? And that's a valid
that's the discussion.
Yeah, and that further leads to the point that have a group of 5 championship game. I mean, I'm telling you, it would be a home run in my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'd have fun watching it.
I agree.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not saying that, hey, we all love college football. We're going to watch it if 2 schools that we know nothing about are 2 teams playing. If I turn on the television at freaking midnight and there's a late night game on the West Coast of Mountain West teams, I'm going to watch it.
And guys, that just creates some excitement for that group of 5.
Yeah.
And knowing they truly have an opportunity to go play in the national championship and win a national championship, other than saying, oh man, we got into the final 12, got our ass kicked, or we won one game, but then the party was over. So they really never have the chance to win the national championship, where if they have their own, they have a chance. And Jason,
what else?
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, what else would make that even more interesting for the following season? I think that kind of like how Arkansas played Purdue in an exhibition game in basketball this season.
Play those two together.
The Power Five champion from the year previously with the Group of Five champion to play a scrimmage or an exhibition game to kick off the season. I feel like that would feed so many mouths, man. I think that would just be a home run, The game doesn't count for anything, but you see the two national champions play each other to kick off the season in the exhibition.
Right. Hey, Jason, I do want to answer Stephen G on this question here. Can I ask a question for the panel with the 12-team playoffs? No, with the 12-team playoffs, does Notre Dame, are they forced to finally join a conference? And the answer is simple, Stephen G. The answer is no. We are not going to join a conference at Notre Dame until we know that there's absolutely no possible way of winning a national championship if we can't get into that bracket. Other than that, no, we have no reason to get in a conference.
Yeah. No.
I think we're predicting the future, guys. I think that the CFPB isn't going to have a choice but to create a Group of Five championship game, man. Whether it's 5 years from now or 10 years from now, if they enjoy making money as much as they say they do, they're missing a huge opportunity with that, man.
Absolutely, and I tell you what, if I'm one of those Group of Five head coaches, man, I'm pulling right now, saying, give us the national championship title to play for.
Yep. And I tell you what, that's also going to give players more of an incentive to stay with their teams, but also it's going to give opportunity for some guys who don't want to transfer to another Power Five team that may be talented in the SEC or the Big 10 or wherever to go to a Power Five team and actually have something to play for.
Right. Look, I think that this is just a limit, and I mean, whatever your opinion may be of this point, is that, like SEC Mo just said, we are about to see some serious changes, folks. This is nothing like at all what we are used to seeing from college football, no matter what, from top to bottom. I mean, we're talking from Power 5 to G5, and there's not even a Power 5 anymore. We're talking about a situation where, okay, Jay, you should let us know, man. Jay, thanks for coming in. Appreciate you. Kuz and him have both left, actually. So make sure you guys get over there and hit the like button on Kchris's channel. But get over there. If you're not already a subscriber to Unfair Sports or Kuz's Corner, you got to go over there and check them out. Make sure you do that.
I'm going to subscribe right now. Y'all do the same.
Appreciate that, Unfair Sports. Jay, appreciate you, man. Hey, look, bottom line is there's an awful lot of unknowns coming. Yep. I feel like the best thing to do is to break it up into two different groups of it. Look, man, I'm not against the Cinderella story, but the Cinderella story, she doesn't make it ever in basketball, and that's the sport that you can see it actually happening. But we're talking about the difference in money and an athlete from big time football to G5 football. Guys, it ain't the same. It's just not the same.
Yeah. And guys, when you're talking about 5 players on the court, you can get 5 good ones at any school and go be competitive. But when you got to play with 33, if you want to make it simpler than that, 22, it's a lot tougher. And that's why you don't see the Cinderella stories in football like you do in basketball.
Yeah.
All right. Kchris, is that your or well? Okay. Kchris, let me ask you this: with Saban stepping down, and I mean, obviously, we know he's the GOAT. He's on Mount Rushmore of the college football coaches, and I would probably say that Kirby Smart's right up there with them. If you're talking about current coaches that you feel like are the best in the country, who's the current Mount Rushmore of coaches? Not necessarily all time. I'm talking about right now today. Who would you expect to ascend and take the place of Nick Saban for the current group and the other few spots? I'm saying Kirby's probably there, right? He's got 2 of the last 3 national titles. Okay, Chris?
You would say Kirby's there. Man, I'll be honest with you. I'll tell you the coach who has the chance, but you just have to kind of wait and see it is honestly Norvell. I think Norvell's you would say Norvell's probably the closest to it. Obviously, my OU bias. I think I don't know why people hate on him so much. I think Venables is an incredible coach. I think he's a really good person as well. But right now, I wouldn't put him on there. I need more. I need to see it more. I need those wins to build up. But I mean, I think Norvell would probably be the closest to touch that if it was out of anybody. I think him. Man, it's kind of hard to say because there's a bunch of coaches who are just now starting to win 10 plus games per year, and I mean, that's a hard thing to do, but I mean, I guess could you say Ryan Day?
Ryan Day, Stark, guys like Norvell, like you said, do you believe in these guys? And who do you really believe in? Is it Kalen DeBoer? Is it Dan Lanning? Is it Coach Prime? Is it, I mean, seriously.
For me, how many people are on the Mount Rushmore, the actual Mount Rushmore? 4 or 5?
4.
Okay. So I'm gonna go with Kirby Smart. Then I'm gonna go with Dan Lanning. Believe it or not. No, you know what? I'm gonna go Harbaugh before that.
Yeah,
but is Harbaugh going to be around?
Kirby Smart.
I think Harbaugh's out, right? Don't you?
He just interviewed
possibly.
They just interviewed for the Atlanta Falcons job.
Atlanta.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he interviewed yesterday for San Diego.
Smart. Let's go with Kirby Smart.
Okay.
Let's go with Dan Lanning. Then we're gonna go to, oh gosh, Ryan Day. And then I'm gonna go Brian Kelly, man.
Sorry.
Hey, man.
I hear you.
I mean, I'm interested to see what he's gonna do without Jaden Daniels. But I mean, traditionally he's a good coach. I mean, even when he was coaching the Irish, man, I mean, he did fairly well.
Just didn't win exactly. Fairly well is the key. He's not a Mount Rushmore kind of guy.
Okay, I respect that. Who would y'all put in that place?
Anybody, you can have your opinions, bro. And LSU is definitely on a trajectory to be able to win championships. We know that. We've seen them do it before. Yeah. They could do it at any time.
That's the reason why.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't necessarily disagree with you. I'm not a fan of Brian Kelly, though. But, Coach, give me yours. Or actually, Kchris, hold on real quick.
You could put a damn zebra in LSU, and they might have a chance to win.
Is Gundy up on Mount Rushmore?
No, hell no. No, he's not. No.
Who is? Who you got?
I think I would go with Norvell. I think I would go with probably Dan Lanning right now, Kirby Smart, and
Dan Lanning. When the hell?
Fourth one is tough.
I think just to piss people off, I would probably go with Lane Kiffin.
Ooh, you know what? I was going to say Lane Kiffin. I was going to say Lane Kiffin myself, but I mean, I just didn't because do we actually think he's going to win a championship at Ole Miss? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hell, he's absolutely killed the portal, hands down. best portal class in recent memory. But hell, can he even beat Texas? Can he beat Sark right now? You know what I mean? So I was gonna say Lane Kiffin, but hey,
I can't put
I think he's better than Sark, bro. I gotta tell you, I say he's better than Sark.
I can't disagree with that. I can't disagree with that.
Yeah, okay. Let's see. Smart, Dabo, Whittingham, and Orca's got jokes. Coach, give me your 4. Give me your 4, man.
You know what? I can't give you 4 because
Bullshit.
when
Yes,
we're
you can.
no, I can't, and I'm going to tell you why I can't give you 4. When you're talking about Mount Rushmore,
Project.
you're talking right. Well, and again, projecting, sure. I just obviously Kirby Smart. There's no doubt. I mean,
Sure, he's already won 2. What about Dabo?
I think Dabo's another one at this point. I mean,
He's on it right now because he used to,
right now, he
Right,
deserves to be there right now. Now, is he going to keep pissing down his leg and fighting the portal and the NIL? And if he does that, he falls out of that really, really fast. I think, damn, the next 2 for me are, there's so many of those guys that I think can possibly end up falling there, but it's going to take a lot for them to get there. And I just, you can say Norvell, you can say, golly,
It's tough.
Lanning. I mean, you can use those guys, but I'm just telling you, I got my Mount Rushmore is 2 guys right now, and that's it. The rest of them got a lot of proving up to do.
Well, I think and we know they definitely got proven. I'm saying who would, if you were looking at the guys that you think could be on that list, I would tell you that I think one of those guys would be your coach there at Notre Dame, Marcus.
Yeah.
And this is a guy that has proven that you can actually go in and recruit at Notre Dame, right? Now, I think that where he's got to get better is that he has to not make some of the coaching mistakes that we've seen go on there, right?
Sure.
I think the same would be said for Oklahoma and Coach Venables. Coach Venables is in a position where we know he's one of the best defensive minds in the country. Now, are you going to make the move to the CEO position where you win games? I think that if you look at what he did this season as compared to last season, making the jump, I like where he's headed.
Right.
But look, I think that I think easily myself, if I was picking him, it would certainly be Kirby Smart. No doubt about that.
Right.
I'm not going to say Jay Norvell because I don't like the way that they handled our adversity this year. I didn't
like it either.
I mean, now I will tell you that I think they recruit well and they kill it in the portal, but I think that the way that they handled adversity was trash. Absolute trash.
I agree. And he led that charge.
Yeah.
He led that charge.
He did. And I think
the administration there would not have pushed it if he would have left it alone.
Right.
So I blame that on him. And once again, Jason, I was the biggest advocate for them not getting in. But at the end of the day, they proved themselves up not worthy of being there by being friggin' crybabies.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Look, for me, Norvell and Lanning just haven't proven enough. No, and I don't think that any of the guys have. You put anybody on Mount Rushmore today because nobody has outside of Kirby and Dabo, right? Nobody else has. So, and we're talking about the best of the best that have won national titles. There's nobody else to talk about, really.
Right.
I think that if you're looking at overall what you've seen from them as a head coach, I think that Brian Kelly's definitely got to be somewhere near your list if you're looking forward to it later on down the line. But I believe that myself, I like a lot of these young coaches. I like Dan Lanning for that matter. I will say this about Dan Lanning. I think that it was so I think it was absolutely ridiculous the way that he puts out that video, acting like he actually got offered that job when we know he did not. And
which job?
He
The
turned it down.
Alabama
The
job?
Alabama job. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I don't think they ever offered it to him. I think that Jimmy Sexton does a great job of getting raises for his coaches, but for 1 minute I wouldn't tell you that I believe that. And I think that was disingenuous, and I'm getting to the point where I'm starting to wonder, this dude talks a lot of shit, but he's yet to beat Kalen DeBoer, and they've got better players, right? They've got better players at Oregon, and you can't beat him.
Yeah, it definitely won't be Arkansas, just my damn opinion. I mean, it definitely won't be Sam Pittman. Yeah.
Definitely won't be Sam Pittman.
Not at all.
I'd like to think that Coach Venables can get there. I do believe that he's one of the defensive minds, and I think that they're moving in a direction that they can get there. They're recruiting on a level that the only two programs, there's two programs in the SEC and plus Texas that have been any better than Oklahoma with recruiting. That's it. So I think that they're going to have an opportunity there. But again, you have to make that jump. You have to actually show you can do it. I believe in Coach V, but he has to do it. I don't hate this one, Hugh Freeze.
Yeah, I'm worried about them, man.
Shit, you should.
That's one coach that has me worried because Auburn has been
where they landed in recruiting in this cycle.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Alabama has been. I mean, not Alabama, but Auburn has been a sleeping giant for a few years now.
Yep.
A hungry Hugh Freeze is dangerous, but a hungry Hugh Freeze with a talented team is even more dangerous. And I think he's going to have a lot more talent on the field this year than he had last year.
And that's what I was saying about if we're talking about like Kalen DeBoer as well, is that, look, we're talking about a coach that has done more with less for a long time.
Yep.
Now he has access to a recruiting machine at Alabama that's probably going to still have a little bit of help from Nick Saban, I would think. And if he can get the right trigger man in there, do they keep their quarterback from recruiting? We'll find out. Will Rogers, I don't know that's the right guy, but if he likes him, he might be a good stand-in. Jaden Milroe, I have a hard time believing he's going to be the guy. Jalen Milroe, because he just doesn't throw the ball well, right? And this
he
is
doesn't.
what they like to do.
He reminds me a lot of KJ Jefferson, man. I mean, of course, he had a better season than KJ Jefferson because he had adequate coaches. He had competent coaches. They were able to adjust the offense to fit his style of play. But if we're talking about NFL quarterbacks, if we're talking about quarterbacks who can read a defense, who can actually execute an offensive scheme to perfection, just based off his knowledge of the game and the way he can run an offense, I don't think that what's his face? Well, golly, I forgot his name already. Alabama's QB, Jaden Milroe. I don't think he's going to be that guy. We'll see. I just don't think that he's going to be a top QB next year, personally.
Right. Okay. Folks, everybody in the here in the comment section, who are your top 4 college football coaches now with the GOAT gone? Who is it? Let us know what you think. Who will it be moving forward? Look, I would tell you that you still have to kind of put Dabo in that, even though I think that he's on his way out. I think that he's either going to evolve now or he's probably going to be gone in the next 2 years. I think that's what has to happen.
If he doesn't stop being stubborn and actually get into the portal, he's going to be gone within the next year. This is going to be his last year because Clemson as a program can't afford to keep a coach who doesn't want to evolve. You know
I think they exponentially get behind every season that he continues to mail it in on the portal. He had needs at edge rusher and on the offensive line. He offered 4 guys, 3 of the guys, I think, didn't even come to Clemson to take a visit and chose 2. One of them chose Arkansas, one of them chose Georgia Tech. What the hell's going on?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, it doesn't make sense.
You know what? I hate it for him. I hope he keeps doing that shit.
Yeah. Hey, listen, man. I'm fine there. I'm fine there. But
He's gonna end up being an
point I'm trying to make
ambulance.
is that I feel like this is a. Did you see where we started with? I mean, we're about to wrap this all up, guys. But what we started this whole thing off was it's a change. There's a big change, a big shift happening in college football, and it's not just that Saban's leaving, but I think that the whole hierarchy of college football is starting to change hands. Jim Harbaugh is probably not going to be around next year. And even if he is, they certainly, I mean, they've lost their top quarterback, their running back. They're both going to the draft.
Yep.
You know, how much more are they going to be? I think that they all know that he's leaving. I think he's going to take one of those jobs. He's the hottest name in coaching at the moment in the NFL.
He is.
He's been to a Super Bowl as the head coach in the NFL. So why would you not want that? I mean, that ended badly because the Niners organization was a dumpster fire at that time. It was like a damn high school.
And he also has the fact that he just won a national championship under his belt. And I mean, with all of the scrutiny that's around the Michigan program right now, it would be smart for him to leave right now, because ultimately, if they find fire where that smoke is coming from, they're going to vacate this dub. They're going to vacate this national championship. Exactly. And that's why he's asking for immunity.
And you know what, Mo? I agree with you, because if he leaves right now, he might salvage their national championship if he takes his butt out to the NFL.
Hell, he's going to salvage his career, because nobody's going to want to touch him with a 10-foot pole if he sticks around and he's found guilty of all this stuff. And they have a vacated national championship. He's going to be tainted goods at that point. But if he leaves right now, he at least has the name Harbaugh behind him, along with a national championship that hasn't been vacated yet.
Yeah, nobody cares about the vacating it anyway. I don't think by the time a year or two goes down the line.
Well, I
remember watching the damn football. I know you hate
take
me.
that shit.
Take
that shit away from
you. But
you got Reggie Bush.
Football game,
and Reggie Bush still asking for his Heisman back. You know what I mean?
Hey,
it matters.
Cheating bastards shouldn't get a trophy.
Hey, look, the one that they're trying to take away from USC, or they did take away from USC, would have gone to Oklahoma. So, but I also watched them beat the shit out of Oklahoma in that game.
That's okay. That's okay. Yeah. But you know what? They cheated to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know.
That trophy ought to be at Oklahoma.
It's not cheating now. It's not cheating now. We never.
And it ought to be number one.
Bottom line is this, Coach. We watched what happened, and it is what it is. I understand why you don't want. And we would take it away from Texas. I'd take it away from Texas in a heartbeat. And right now, I would say fuck USC too, because I don't like it. But that being said, it is what it is. If it fits you because you hate Michigan, I get it. I understand that.
But here's my whole thing. I don't care who it is. If your ass cheated to put yourself in that position, I don't care if you won and beat the shit out of whoever you played. What helped you get there? It helped you climb the steps to the pinnacle. And if you used any of those steps by cheating on your way up, you don't deserve it. I don't give a care. I don't give a crap if you beat the team in the final game by 70.
Yeah.
What did you take an illegal step going there?
Right. The circumstances around those victories are in
That's
question.
the eye of the beholder on that. That's the only thing that I feel about you told me before, Coach, that if you ain't trying to get their signs, then what the hell are you doing? You changed your
but you know what?
Did you change signs?
And no, I agree with you, but you know what? Don't be a dumbass.
I agree with that too.
I agree with that too. And then again, how many times do you have spies literally walking the sidelines of the opposing team that you're going to play?
And don't
Shawty,
be exactly
turn off your feed.
And you know what? That's just blatantly cheating.
Right.
I mean, like we said, hell.
If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
That's what I was just saying, though, Shotty. That's what I was just saying. But don't be a dumbass and don't be blatant about it. At least act like you have a little bit of damn intelligence if you're going to cheat.
Yeah.
So take your damn trophy. The hell with them.
Shawty, what's up, my man? Our boy Shawty.
What happened, gentlemen? How y'all doing, man?
What's up, Shotty?
That's our guy, man. Welcome to the show, my brother. How you doing?
What's up, Razorback, man? I ain't seen you in a minute, man. Hope all been well.
How you doing?
Man.
How you doing, man? Yeah, it's been a long time, brother. It's been a long time. I'm still kicking, though. I'm still kicking.
There you go.
I love it. Shotty, who's your four
Who's
coaches?
your four top coaches? Yeah.
Yeah, I put it in the comment, man. Just based off of, what has happened. If you take Saban off, I just went off the coaches who have the best record over the past 5 years. So I just went by the numbers, and that was Kirby. Take out Alabama, it was Kirby. In no particular order, it was Kirby, Dan Lanning, Jim Harbaugh, and
Dan
throw a name out there. Yeah, Dan Lanning. He got the best record in the past 5 years. Dabo was number 6.
Dabo.
Ryan Day. There you go. That's who it was.
Oh,
Ryan Day.
Yeah, Ryan.
So they had the best record over the past 5 years.
Shotty, but hell, Ohio State needs to not be playing all those high school teams.
Well, Coach, you know what? Coach, coming from a standpoint of a coach, if I say that to you, get what you're going to tell me. I just play who on the schedule. I can't do nothing but play who on the schedule.
Yeah, that's true. And and that goes along the lines of what we were just talking about as far as them pretty much creating a group of 5 national championship game, because we all agree, man, we don't want to see a group of 5 play a power 5 in a national championship game or in a playoff game, because the level of competition is not going to be the same.
It's going to look like TCU versus Georgia.
Right. You have those one-off years where you have a group of 5 that actually does well and makes it to a playoff, but then when they get to the big dance, it's too big for them. You know what I mean? I think that there's a lot of opportunity there for a group of 5 to have their own national championship game to generate a lot of buzz for their conferences and also generate additional revenue.
Well, that's what's going to happen. I think I'll put it in the comments, because when I look at it like this right here, you don't want to see the national championship from a Power 5 school play a national championship game against a group of 5. Nobody wants to see that. So why would you even put them in the playoffs? Because you don't even want to see it no way. So why even put them in the playoffs? And then even if you say, I think my guy from Arkansas, is it Razorback something?
You talking about me?
Yeah.
I'm SEC Mo. But yeah.
Oh, my bad. I apologize.
I still got
my
podcast. Yeah.
Okay.
But I got my SEC Weekly show going right now. I haven't recorded for Hog Wild Podcast in a while, but it's coming.
Okay. But to your point that you made about possibly making it like some type of exhibition, that's really all it would be. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then, even then, I think after some time, after a couple of years of throttling, I think it would lose its luster.
I agree. But we'll see, man. I think it's a great opportunity to see where it goes, but I feel like that would be the most logical move moving forward.
I'm with you on that. Yeah. But that's what's going to happen. They're going to branch off.
Yeah, I think you kind of have to at some point, but I also think that doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to get to play each other, because look, if you break off into a subdivision and let's say it's 30 teams or 40 teams, who cares, right? And you have that subdivision thing going on, then you're going to be playing within your conference or whatever it is. If it's the Big 10 and the SEC and whatever version you want to call it of that, you could end up with some more independents, maybe, possibly. Notre Dame's going to be involved. By the time's all said and done, you're going to have to play some of these other small schools, G5s. They're going to have an opportunity to see where they stand. In the end, I'm going to tell you that it's one thing to do it. It's like we saw with the Big 12 last year, these new programs that came in that UCF, they were able to beat Auburn that year. That wasn't the best team in the SEC. Now, of course, they did beat Georgia and Alabama during the regular season that year. But when it's one thing to get up for one team that's a Power 5 opponent. To do it week after week after week is a totally different animal. And to get into a playoff setting where you're going to play all the best schools is an even it's even more than that because it's the cream of the crop. I don't see that you're ever going to get a G5 school that gets past one win in this 12-team playoff, and I don't know how often you're going to see that.
Yeah,
I'll be
even
honest
if
with
they
you, I don't know
did,
how many ACC and Big 12 teams are going to do it after a couple of years of this.
yeah.
well, yeah, I agree. I agree.
And it goes back to resources because you're not only you're talking about a G5 playing a Power 5, you're talking about at the end of the year. When you're talking about you've had to battle through attrition, you're not having the quality of play. Like you may be good 1 through 11. But what happened with, 12, 13, 15, you know what I'm saying, on down the line. So,
Yeah.
and it also, you have to look at like, even from a revenue standpoint, you as a G5 school may have an opportunity to make more money playing more games in a bigger playoff system as opposed to coming to the Power 5 playoff and possibly playing one game.
Yeah, yeah, and that's another thing I wanted to bring up because, like I was saying earlier, if you have guys that are transferring out from these Power 5 schools that are going to these other teams outside the Power 5, I mean, at least they're going to a place that they may be able to play for something. You know what I'm saying? Other than just saying you're continuing on your career with hopes of getting to the NFL, hey, there are going to be eyeballs on you at that level if there's a national championship game to play for. So you're going to have an equal opportunity to not only go to a different team to get some eyeballs, but you're also going to have the opportunity to play for hardware.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Look, SEC Mo, I appreciate you. I saw that you need to get out of here, but we appreciate your opinion on this and great show tonight, guys. Make sure you get over to the SEC Weekly. I caught some of their show the other night. Absolutely great show. Not enough people in there watching it, so get over there, check it out. SEC Weekly. Who was your guy that was spitting bars, man? That dude.
You talking about is it Tonka Todd or is it was it G?
Yeah, man. That dude.
That's my boy, man.
He has some stuff that he was saying. I was like, I love it. I would put it in the comments, man. He has some bars.
Tonka Todd is a wealth of knowledge, man. He's been a little bit sick for the past few weeks, so we haven't been able to record the way we wanted to. But we've put together a system that the show is going to go on, man, regardless, man. If I'm out, if Tonka Todd's out, we're always going to record. So y'all go check out the SEC Weekly. You can follow me at the SEC Weekly Mo. And you can also check out the SEC Weekly on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. Man, hey, Jason, hey, man, get me in here anytime you need to talk to me, man. Anytime you want me to jump on, anytime you want me to give my 2 cents on something, hey, let me know. Shawty, it's always good to see you, bro. I hadn't seen you in a few years since I used to talk to you on Coach I's show.
Yeah.
But, Coach, it was good to talk to you as well.
Absolutely, Mo.
Hey, anytime you want to have me, Jason, just hit me up, bro. I'm here, man. I'm going to support the
we got a lot of plans for this year and moving into the SEC, obviously for Oklahoma. And then, Coach is going to be doing some extra stuff with Notre Dame. I've got plans for this channel and the SEC. So we plan to do lots with you, man. I've enjoyed watching your show and definitely, hey, man, this is something that I say all the time is we get the best freaking guests here. When it comes to creators, we have the best ones. So we get them all here. So we enjoy it. And you're welcome in anytime, man. Every Tuesday night we're live on this show, but we'll have some more opportunities as well. So you're welcome to show up anytime, man. We appreciate it.
All right, fellas. Y'all have a good night. Y'all have a good
one, brother.
Talk to you soon.
All righty.
All right, guys. Then there were 3.
Y'all had been on 2 hours, man.
Yeah, man, it's already been a while, so we're gonna kind of wrap it up. But look, guys, I think that overall the overarching theme of this deal tonight has been this is a big change. I think everybody has to kind of be ready for this. Is not college football that any of us understand or know. It's unlike anything we've ever seen, and I don't think that we're talking about 8 days since there was a national champion. Look at all the shit that's happened just since then.
Yeah.
You had
Saban
retire. They move quick and hire Kalen DeBoer. They move quick and hire Jed Fish. They move quick and hire a coach. The dominoes are falling, and we don't even know what in the end this thing is going to look like. But I would tell you that if you think it can't change in a heartbeat and in a blink of an eye. Just look at the last week. Yeah, it's definitely, no doubt. Big Ten and SEC now both full of top games. They no longer need an extra tough game against a non-conference. Oh, Notre Dame leaving.
We just need to go to a 9-game schedule. I think that'll cut everything out.
Yeah. Look, man, I would say that there's definitely a contingent of folks that want to see Notre Dame in the conference. I'm going to tell you that you can want that all you want to. The committee cares about money, and they don't give a shit what we think. If we're not Notre Dame, and no, if you're a non-Notre Dame fan that wants to see that, I don't think the committee gives two shits about it. Notre Dame's got enough money with its own contract with a television deal that they don't have to. And I guarantee you they will get into the playoff anytime they have 1 or 2 losses. They'll be in it.
And they play a fairly tough schedule every year anyway. Because they can pick and choose people from different conferences.
Not according to Bagman. According to Bagman, our schedules always suck. You need to go back and look at that. And I'm not going to say we always play the toughest schedules in the country either, because we played those.
Last year was a pretty good schedule, though.
This last year was a tough one, but we do play those years that we don't play a very good schedule. And like Shotty was saying earlier, you know what?
But you intertwine between conferences, though, Coach. That would make your schedule tough because you intertwine conferences. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You don't have to play the top player in every conference for your schedule to be tough. It's the fact that you intertwine in between conferences.
Yes, absolutely. And I tell you what, and I think you guys will agree with this, because that was another thing Bagman was talking about is, Notre Dame hasn't won a New York Six bowl game since 1994. Hey, facts are facts, baby. I don't disagree with you on that. But I'm going to tell you what, if it's between us and somebody else in the New York Six bowl from this point forward, I think we're in, if that was still the case. But I think we're in the we're going to be in the final 12 as well, because times are changing in Notre Dame with our coach. And Shotty even mentioned this the other day. He wouldn't be surprised to see us battling it out for a championship down the road.
We just talked about that there may not even be conference championships in these other conferences because why the hell do you need them?
It may not matter as much, other just for personal glory.
To play in the conference championship game more than it helps.
It
for season purposes, you know what I'm saying? It can really hurt you depending on.
Look, if it's like I said, if you had 2 teams that were tied for that second spot in the conference championship game, a tiebreaker goes to one team, they lose the conference championship game, and the number 3 team gets a higher seed in the playoff. Now you're pissed off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, look, I think that this is the point I'm trying to make. This entire show is that get ready, folks, because college football, as you see it today, is not college football anymore.
Hell, as we saw it 3 weeks
ago. About a lot of this shit, opinions about a lot of this stuff that we have, they don't really apply to what the future of the game is. Just like I would tell you that, see, John, I don't think that the G5 is going to have a place at the table very long because they don't need one. They're not playing. It's not the same game. They don't have the same resources. They don't have the same.
They don't deserve a seat at the table. Let's just be honest and blunt. They do not deserve a seat at that table. Now, if they're going to play their own championship, I think that would be incredible.
I think seeds 5 and 6 is going to really make the playoffs very interesting. Seeds 5 and 6. That's going to make the playoffs very, very
interesting. After that, what? You don't think
it's going to be after that? I think 7 and 8 would definitely be quality. I think they're all going to be quality teams. I just think when you get to that 5 and 6 spots, those are the teams who really should have probably been in the top 4 anyway.
Yeah. Thank you, Shotty.
Just based off the schedule or maybe lost a game or
17. Yeah, I mean, look, if you win your conference championship game and you continue winning through, and let's say yeah, even if you get 1 week off because you won the conference, let's say you're one of those teams that's going to get a bye, which I don't know how long that's going to last, probably just a couple of years. But if you're one of those teams that gets a bye, great, good for you. You still have to win 17. You have to have played 17 damn games to get in. I think that conference
But
championships.
the team that don't have the game got to play more, Jason.
I think
You still want that bye.
You can name a conference champion by the standings.
I'm just saying, you still want that bye, though. You want that bye. One more game and one more opportunity to lose players and lose a game. I want the bye. I don't want to be playing that week.
Now, if they go to a 16-team playoff in 2 years from now, there's not going to be any buys.
And that's fine. But I'm saying right now, if I can get the bye, I want the bye, because not only that, I get another week to rest up my players.
If you do that with a undefeated Georgia team that doesn't have to play a national championship game, a conference championship, if you name an undefeated Georgia team, which you would have this season, conference champions, they were the only undefeated team in the SEC. They would have been conference champs.
Mm-hmm.
They would have gotten a bye.
Right. What's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with it. The point I'm making is are we not? It looks like a lot of this stuff is, look, it's just kind of, what do you say about, things that are out of they're past their expiration date. And I think that you may be seeing the end of importance for conference championship football games.
So if you don't give those 4 teams a bye, would you want to see a 1-12 matchup? No, you don't want to see that. That's why you give them a bye.
I'm not saying I give them a bye. I'm saying the conference championship games are irrelevant at this point.
Yeah, they definitely don't mean as much.
Because of the fact that you're going to have, and we're talking in terms of the big boys, it could be, but I would also say, what about the Big 12 and the ACC?
So let me ask you this.
They're going to cannibalize each other. At the end of it, you might have a champion with 2 losses, which is going to get them in there. And maybe they win it, but if they lost it and have 3 losses, are they going to get in?
I would say, I didn't even think about this. With us going to a 12-team playoff, and maybe I'm asking the same question. I think I may be asking the same question you just asked. I don't know how that changes the voting. Because what if you had this same matchup between us and Alabama like we had this year? They still may rank us higher than Alabama now moving forward if we had this same scenario, even though we lost to them head to head.
Yes.
People say you don't want to take the rankings from last year, or what you did last year doesn't matter, except it kind of does. And Georgia played a better schedule than anybody else that was up there. Than any of them.
And yeah, that's what I'm getting at. Maybe moving forward now with that, the rankings may not pan out like they would have this year because of the 12-team playoff. And if you want to have the best teams,
man, no such thing as an auto qualifier.
I can see that.
No auto qualifiers. The best teams, whoever they are, put them in. And the G5, I'm sorry, C. John, but the G5 has 0 chance of winning a national championship moving forward. They didn't have a chance of winning it with 4. They damn sure don't have a chance of winning it going up against 10 other power conferences.
It's going to be harder now.
Nobody wants to see Liberty.
It's going to be harder now.
And I'm telling you, the Big 12 and the ACC. Think about that for a second. They're going to cannibalize the hell out of each other. I would be super surprised if you didn't have one of the 2 teams in the Big 12 championship game in 2024 that already had 3 losses. It wouldn't surprise me even at all.
So you don't think a Big 12 team can make the top 4 seed?
No. I think maybe Utah could possibly, but I doubt it. I don't see it. Who are they playing? And look, especially when you don't want to play any of these power, like if you're Oklahoma State and they think that you listen to them talk, they think that they have a real chance of now running the Big 12 conference. If you listen to Cody Light, I would say no,
Isn't
but
Oregon going to the Big 12?
nope, Big 10.
Oh, Big 10. Oh.
Big 10, Washington, Oregon, UCLA, and USC are off to the Big 10. You've got the Big 12 is Utah, the Arizona schools who just punted on their freaking coach that won 11 or 10 games for the first time and God knows when at that school. They punt on him, don't even match the offer, try to match the offer, don't even look at it. They said they let him go. I don't know if they're saying Fafita is going to stay. I would be surprised if he does, right? I don't care. Yep, you're a basketball school. So that is unbelievable to me when the money comes from football.
Now that lets you know they ain't trying.
It does let you know. It does let you know. And because they went and hired a guy from San Jose State
that has a losing record,
yeah.
by the way. I mean, he's got like
San Jose State.
He's got like 20-something wins and 38 losses, like 25 and 38.
They ain't trying.
No.
Yeah, with the 20-team conference, how can you honestly find the two best teams in the conference? Because they're playing the freaking conference.
Yeah, the record gonna say that.
The record's gonna tell you. Right now, the people that are saying you are what your record says you are, that's not the case. That's not the case anymore because they're not playing the same type of schedule. You're not playing the same people, man. If you're all playing the same people, then it's one thing. But I'm going to tell you now, a 20-team Big 12 is not the same as a 16-team SEC or a 20-team or 16-team Big 10. It's just not. It's just not.
All W's and L's are not equal.
They're not, man. And I'm not sitting here bashing on the Big 12. I'm telling you that I think that, but this is today, though, I would tell you that give it 2 or 3 years of you being $40 million in revenue behind the SEC and the Big 10. Then tell me how competitive it's going to be.
5 years.
It's not going to take that long.
Here's the point, C. John. What did I just say? The money is going to tell you that will never, ever happen because Group of 5 is going to be $100 million behind these guys in yearly revenue. How the hell are they going to compete even 1 week? I don't buy it. And it is going to be a meat grinder. It isn't, but it's going to be more of a meat grinder than it has been in the past in the Big 10. And I'm going to, it's going to be top heavy, but you got more teams in the top heaviness now. Same with the SEC. Look, you're going to have to get through a hell of a schedule. This is why I say I don't know that you have to have this. That you have to have conference championship games. I think it's something that's going to be. We're going to see some big changes. They're going to see what happens in these first couple of years, but they're going to have.
You're going to keep it from a revenue standpoint, Jason. That's the main reason. You're going to keep that conference championship just because of revenue, and everybody want to say they're the king or whatever. I mean, that's just how that's going to go. You ain't going to get rid of conference championships.
Texas fan, you ain't getting no love in here. Are you insane? He made the playoffs, but Oklahoma beat you. What you got? You couldn't beat OU.
Well, and let's string some of those wins together in 2 or 3 seasons, Longhorn fan.
Yeah.
We've got 1 year under your belts, so let's string a couple more together.
And this is
and
what
year 2 is always the biggest jump for a coach is what they do in 3 and 4. Year 3 and 4.
5. Look, it's one thing to get a New Year's 6 win and stuff like that against a team that's soft as baby shit like freaking Lincoln's USC team was both years that he's been there. And I mean, they still look, you're not going to do that very often though. That's not going to happen. And now, especially with the discrepancy in the amount of money that we're talking about, it's not going to be close, man. It's not going to be close. It's just, and that's the whole point. You're assuming, C. John, that things are going to be the same, and they're just not.
They're not.
They're just not going to be the same anymore. It's going to change. Yeah, we don't. Yeah, I want to see Memphis match up with the Ole Miss. Look, then you're going to have to see it in the regular season, guy. You're just going to have to see it in the regular season because, to be honest with you, When the hell has Memphis ever even been close to qualifying for any? I haven't seen them in the New Year's Six. I haven't seen them in shit. Who cares? And Ole Miss too. What are we talking about? It's a regional game that you should see in the regular season, man. It's not a tournament game for the playoffs for the national championship. Hell, I wouldn't. I mean,
listen,
I can, but I wouldn't be that big on that.
Listen, when I'm gonna be honest with you, and this is the sad part about it though. No bowl person like Big would even want that game. They're not gonna sell tickets.
Mm-hmm.
Not the tickets, amount of tickets that they want to sell. Not gonna drive in the revenue. Not gonna pull in the viewers.
Sure.
They may lose money with Memphis playing anybody in that particular setting and environment.
When it comes to a playoff game, look at the two semifinal games did a huge, quite a bit more than the championship game did. Nobody gave a shit about watching Michigan.
Because of the matchup. There you go.
Nobody cared about that. You think they're gonna care? Nobody would watch Ole Miss and freaking Memphis in that game. The fans.
Why do you think there's so many bigger stories 3 days after, 4 days after? Like they don't forget about it.
I'm not hating on anybody either. I'm just telling you guys that we're not even in charge of this first and foremost. But I'm trying to make you think the way that these folks and don't think for 1 second that ESPN and these conferences aren't all about that money, especially when they're about to start having to pay players part of it.
Yep.
Some of that
guys, it's a money game. Whether you like it or you don't, it's all about the money.
Yeah. Got to find more ways to strengthen it because they got to start sharing a little bit more.
I think the playoff is definitely also because it allows for more access. I think it's badass to see the top 1 to 10 get in. I also believe in number 1 G5. Okay, you believe that, but that's John. I'm going to say this is the last time I get what you're saying and I understand. You're assuming that this can happen because you've seen it happen. You saw it last year with Tulane. First and foremost, USC wasn't a top 10 team. They won the Pac-12, and the Pac-12 wasn't that damn good.
And I saw that game. I was at that ball game.
Coach was there,
and they were
right?
they were getting their ass kicked until the very end of the game, and that was because Lincoln Riley pissed down his leg. But Tulane was getting their ass beat like a redheaded stepchild.
But
guys,
and
going back to what Shotty was saying, nobody wants to watch that shit.
Well, and on top of that, right now, if they don't change the format of this before we get to the 24 playoff, not only are you going to have 1 G5 school, you're going to have 2.
2, yeah.
6 automatic qualifiers, 6 at-large bids. I hate automatic qualifiers. They should all be at large. I'm just telling you, there ain't no damn way.
Purple Orca. If Notre Dame doesn't play in the conference championship, you don't want to either. Well, then go get you about a $63 million deal with NBC, and you won't have to either.
Yeah, guys, I know everybody wants to hate on Notre Dame. You guys need to knock that shit off. They have as big a following as Oklahoma has. You know it. That's
about the endowment.
There's one program in the country that doesn't need a conference in order to make that kind of money.
Yeah. Do a little research. Go look into the endowment.
I mean, look,
we have a few billion in our endowment.
I'm not a huge Notre Dame fan myself. Me and Coach, at some point, they're going to end up playing, and we're going to be talking shit.
Yeah.
But here's the deal.
It's going to be fun as hell, too.
I promise you that's a game that would do huge numbers. You guys are talking about Memphis and fucking Ole Miss. Come on, fellas. Oh man. I mean, come on, fellas. Let's be real about this shit. I'm sorry. All right,
Oh.
guys, it's been fun. We're enjoying this, and I get it. Because John, you're saying the two. Yes, right now it's a 6-6. There's only it's not a Power 5 group of 5. They are talking about moving it to a 7-5, whatever, where it's 5 automatic qualifiers, but that's still dumb. You only have 4 power conferences, so why would you? Because they want to put a G5 program in there, and that was what they originally had agreed to, was 6-6. So they can do it that way right now and automatically put somebody in, right? It's one, but if you leave it at 6-6, it's going to be 2 G5 schools because you got to have 6 automatic qualifiers. So what would they be?
Yeah.
It's silly talk. It's absolute silly talk. I don't believe that one belongs in there. I don't think that there's a snowball's chance in hell outside of maybe this first 2 years that you get a G5 team. And I don't think that there's a G5 team that does it this season, this first year, that wins a first round game. No way. I don't buy it. I don't think so. Because which are the really good? Let's talk Liberty, maybe, right? And you got SMU and them are going to the ACC, so they're going to already be in the ACC. You're not going to have to. So they're going to have won their conference championship to get in. So you just made it even. So the best that you could possibly.
Is Liberty going to the ACC?
No.
Oh, okay.
SMU is going to the ACC.
That's the same thing. Oh man.
But they would at least they have to get through the ACC to freaking get a spot in the playoff, right?
That ain't happening.
No, it's not. That's one of the point I'm making is that if you add more access to G5 schools and don't add more money to their pockets, what are you doing to them?
But you know what?
The Michigan State argument is a stupid argument too, because these guys don't beat giants; they beat shitty giants.
Jason, you just made probably the best point that could be made. It's going to take a year, but just watch SMU and see how far they make it in the ACC this year.
Tulane doesn't have their coach anymore either, guys.
Because what they're thinking about doing is letting SMU and Tulane play that soft schedule, and then all of a sudden get a shot with the big boys. Just play the big boys all year.
You know,
and let them finish 7-5.
UTSA is probably the best of the group of 5 schools.
Who?
UTSA. Texas San Antonio. And they ain't good enough, bro. They ain't good enough.
Nah, man, come on, bro. You know what I'm saying? Why you would want a team who would finish in a regular conference 7-5 or 6-6?
If you're
and
lucky.
expect them to and then expect them to play a top 12, a top 10 school in a playoff.
And I'm even UTSA is a program that they do really well in the portal because it's a big city, so you could see them.
Colorado do
pretty well, right?
They won 4 games. I know that's different, but just saying.
Hey guys, I love y'all, but the madness for me's got to stop.
I'm ready to go.
I'm gonna call it a night. Hey, love you guys. Y'all are awesome, and we will see y'all around. Shotty, thanks for coming on, man.
Appreciate you coming. Good to see you.
We'll talk to you later, Coach. All right, love you, Coach.
Bye-bye.
Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
All right. Shotty, talk to me about this. What you seen? What are you? Hey, look, your boys have been poaching coaches, poaching players, just like you said was going to happen. I think that it's like I said, it's been 8 days since they crowned a champion. The differences in this college football landscape is seismic, man. I mean, obviously the Nick Saban thing has its part in it as well. But look, I think that we're going to see. Imagine what is 6 months from now. What's the difference is going to be? Even before the season starts, who's to say? You know, I don't know that as far as this goes. I don't know if that was confirmed or not. I know they've been talking about it. The last I had heard was like day before yesterday, and they had not confirmed it. Maybe they have. Even at
Confirmed in terms of
5-7, the format at 5-7, I don't like it. I still don't like it.
no, I'm kind of with you. I don't really necessarily like the. I mean, I get it, but the automatics is where kind of makes things a little sticky and icky. So I get it, man. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Look, I just
But
think
it's the
that
playoff. There's gonna always be some.
we keep thinking about fair and saying the word fair and shit like that. This is
No such thing.
It ain't fair. I can argue that it's not fair to put a G5 up against a program like Alabama or freaking Oklahoma or Georgia or Texas. I can tell you that that's not fair. If they're good enough to be in the playoff and you stick a G5 in front of them, I don't give a shit who they are. You're going to get them hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to look like shit. Who wants to watch that?
I mean, you have to think about generally. That's what I'm saying. You have to think about generally. Power 5 schools are paying these schools to come play. So
Yes.
why should they just get an automatic bid in a playoff situation? You see what I'm saying? Like it doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree, man. Look, man, I'm just saying, I'm the same way. I feel like this is one of those things that you look. It's not about fairness. It's never been about fairness. Stop acting like it is. They want access to it, and you got the truth is you're gonna have to buy your way into it, just like everybody else does. That's the other part. Fair means what? Look, these programs that go out there and win national titles or have won national titles, and it's very important to them. Remember what we were talking about that night when we were asking about Shane Beamer? Shane Beamer is not a top-level coach. I wouldn't put him anywhere close to it. Nowhere close. He's an SEC head coach, and I would put him nowhere near the top. Nowhere. And what did we ask? We're asking Stat about would they let go of him if he didn't win 8 games? And they're like, nope. He said no right away. What the fuck? You're making $100 million every year, and you don't hold him to a standard. The investment is not the same at these other places. So what is fair? What is fair? Because the investment in the program isn't the same everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the rosters ain't either. I mean, it's a reason why they're in the conference they're in.
That's right.
I mean, it's yeah.
I mean, look, some of those. I mean, I would tell you that, does Vanderbilt belong in the SEC? No, but it's always been in the SEC. It's always been there. I mean, they're grandfathered in. They ain't going nowhere. Not yet.
Right.
Not yet. At some point, what happens when ESPN and Fox really have more power? They say, look, we don't want to we don't want them on television or, wasting our time.
Mm-hmm. And that could happen, even if they have to be bought out. It could happen. When you're talking about having these super and mega conferences.
Right. Yeah, no, Stephen G, that's what I was just saying a few minutes ago. I was like, SMU is now in the ACC, but that's some of the better G5 programs. You've got UCF, Cincinnati. These are 2 teams that have competed in either a New Year's Six or the playoff in Cincinnati's case, right? Recently. That didn't go well for Cincy, though. They went undefeated, beat Notre Dame, got the brakes beat off their ass.
That's what we were just saying. Like, they now have their chance to prove it in a regular schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And if they can not go 7-5 and 6-6 and prove that they deserve to be there, then they'll be there. But right now, your guys are not winning more than 8 games in a regular conference.
Yep. And look, just like you're right there too, Hank. Yes, if they do this, and they probably will, you're probably right. It's going to be, you're going to get at least 1 G5 school in, and if they don't mess with it, you're going to get 2. A couple of 77-3 games. You fix that right up.
That's what I said. Well, a couple of
do you want to share your money? If you're these big schools, and even if you're the Big 12, do you want to share your piece of that pie with a group of 5 schools? Because, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. I think that there's other ways to let them qualify for it. Let's say if you have a group of 5 deal that, look, if they're good enough and they're undefeated and you go to say if it's a 16, it probably wouldn't work that way. But you could have a play-in for those last 2 spots the same way they kind of do in the NCAA tournament, if that's what you really want to do. Then we get into the problem of having too many games again, though. I'm telling you, a lot of this stuff is going to start.
They ain't gonna never be too many games because they want their money. Their
bargained on. Believe it. Watch and wait and see. There is going to be schools and the NCAA having to pay players for all this shit really soon, which means it's all going to be collectively bargained, which means that the playoff could change in 10 minutes. It just doesn't matter. Whenever this goes down, that's going to be what you bargain over. The players are going to want less time in the, look at the NFL. They don't spend the same amount of time practicing and being around there. And they don't play as many. They have to play a lot of games, but that means they have to cut back on team activities and how much time they can put them in there. Right. And hey, look, and Kirby could have absolutely hit 100 if he wanted to. Right. And this is against an ACC team that thought that they were good enough. You get into their second string and they get beat by 60.
And that's what we're saying. Don't nobody want to see that, man. A couple of years of 1 throttling 12 or 6 throttling 12, they're going to change their format. They won't be keeping them in because you're going to lose too much money, revenue, TV money. People not going to watch it.
Yes, but yeah, okay. All right. How many of these teams that are squeaking in out of the G5 have enough fans that watch them even, Cincinnati, let's talk about them as a G5. They had I was in Cincinnati this year. It was one of the coolest places I've ever seen a college football game. Nippert Stadium, awesome, right? Unbelievable. Oldest stadium in the country. I loved it. They've got a pretty good following. Do you know what they did as a rating in that game where they got the shit beat out of them by Alabama? Wasn't good.
And you're playing a top team.
Yeah, and the rating wasn't good.
Nobody wants to see it.
Well, it's not just the fan bases that you're looking at. You don't just, it's great to have a Notre Dame fan base but it's because you've got your diehards and you've got your fair weather fans that are going to watch, right? That's different than from Cincinnati for that matter, right? It's not the same thing, folks. It's just not the same thing. And there's some programs that have mass appeal. As an Oklahoma fan, I may not like Georgia, but I'm going to watch them.
Man, if you're going to do it to a brand and a powerhouse like Florida State, what you think? Why would you want to? You see what happened to Florida State and when somebody did not want to see a team without their starting quarterback playing.
That's right.
You're talking about a whole brand, a whole Power 5 school.
That's why the whole bitch and complaining about it being fair and not fair is not what I care about. Don't care about fairness, man. I just don't care.
Right. And clearly, the voting committee didn't care about fair either.
Look, and that's what look, we could say a lot of the same things about, look at Oklahoma. They ended up in the Alamo Bowl against the Arizona team. Now, they didn't have a bunch of opt-outs, but OU had just as much of a call for a New Year's Six game as anybody else did. Their losses, they had a win over the team that everybody was in love with, Texas, because they beat Alabama. They loved them some Texas. They don't get a New Year's Six Bowl. You get a Missouri who didn't beat LSU, who did it, and the 2 teams that they played, they lost to.
But weren't you guys ranked 12 this year? And you would have been kicked out by a G5 school?
That's correct.
So it would have been somebody like Liberty, or who would have been?
It would have been Liberty. It would have been Liberty.
Who else is come?
If it wasn't Liberty, it would have been Liberty and SMU.
Man, come on.
And we already beat SMU. So it's silly shit. Yeah. To me, it would have been worse if it was SMU because Oklahoma beat SMU.
So you beat them head to head, yeah.
Well,
I said nobody wants to see that, man. Yeah, nobody wants to see that.
Look, man.
They'll have more backlash from that than anything.
It's not, and that's the whole thing. It's not that I want to see, you know what I think would be better? What somebody was talking about it in her SEC Mo was saying it earlier. Why not have a G5 championship game, a group of 5 championship? Do it.
Huh.
Starting next
That's
season.
not good enough for them, Jason.
Starting next season, get them up against some of the best talent. Let them play up and see what happens. Get them a game with the look. The power champion has to play the G5 champion as the start of the year every year. So it's a kickoff game. You're gonna find out real quick who's better.
They're gonna be the ass whipping the start of your year off every year. And guess what? People gonna stop tuning in to that because it's gonna be ridiculous.
Yeah. But for the couple of years that they do it, at least
Right.
you would be able to justify what we're doing.
There you go. There you go.
Justify what you're doing. And in the end, look, guys, I'm a fan of access to an extent, but I think that I also believe that it isn't as fair as we all want to make it out to be, because you think about basketball in your Cinderella story. This is not the same thing.
Right.
This is not the same thing. Playing football against a 300-pounder against a 220-pound linebacker, or you get a 250-pound defensive tackle going up against an offensive lineman that's over 330. Is this fair?
Mm-hmm.
It's not a smart idea.
Just go look at some of them little league teams that be playing. You be like, oh, them kids too old. They don't supposed to be out there. Check their birth certificate. That's what you
bro, think about that. Think about that. You go out there and watch some of them freaking kids. Go watch it, guys. Go watch the shit. Hey, on Netflix, what did they have it? It was called the Friday Night Tykes. You watch it on those teams that were good would win by 100 over the ones that weren't. Kids getting hurt and shit. And I'm not talking, I mean, obviously, but there's a big difference in college football teams that are in even Power 5 versus G5. And especially, look, what did Blue said last week when he was on the show with us? He said, look, there's most G5 schools couldn't mess with the FCS. Because there's some FCS programs that are like that. Maybe at the playoff level, but I would say most group of 5 schools, they ought to just be in FCS. I think that's where you should be. That's just my thoughts, man. I don't know. Charlie, we appreciate you coming in, man. We're going to start doing more of this kind of stuff, and there's some new shows that we're looking at coming up. I was enjoying you guys' show last week. I got into some different talk there towards the end.
Yeah. You know, sometimes things shift a little bit, you know.
They did. I was like, all right, before I'm not answering any questions from the panel right here. It's just like,
right.
I'm let them go. Hey, man, no, you guys get over there, check out Just My Damn Opinion with Shawty Parker, his boy Pot, and who was the other guy that was with you guys last week?
He's another buddy of mine from college, man. He's actually my financial guy, man. His name, we call him Rodrigo. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Lots of fun, man. They talk about a lot of stuff, a lot of sports, but then, you know, it could get into some other shit. So it's good.
Yeah.
It's good, fine entertainment, folks. Get over there. Make sure that you get in there and subscribe. All of the folks that have been on the show tonight, their channel is in the description of this deal right here. Get in there. If you're not already a subscriber, become a subscriber to all these guys. Get over there and like both channels. Love you guys all for coming in. We appreciate it. Hank, I think you may be the last one that's saying anything about it. Yeah. And yeah, again, I don't know what there's going to be some changes to the way we're doing things and stuff like that, but I appreciate everybody coming in. And hey, make sure you hit that like button on the way out. Stick around, Shawty, and I'll talk to you in a second. And we'll see you guys on the next one.